Alrighty, welcome everybody. We're so excited to be able to be here with you. I'm Laurel Erznosnik, an account executive here from the Grace Company, and joining me we have...
I'm Gianna Matthews. I'm the assistant sales manager here for the Grace Company.
Yes, and then this is kind of exciting, but as you'll see, kind of got a couple different people on screen. So we're actually back in Utah, in the United States, and then joining us on screen, you'll also see...
Roswitha Martini from Know How Sewing Essentials, and we are the Australian distributor for the Grace Company, for the Grace products.
Yes, thank you so much, Roswitha.
And I'm in Mittagong, New South Wales, Australia.
Yay!
Woo! Exciting. We're so excited to be here with you. And kind of, we talked about how we're in two different places. So let's go ahead and see those comments. Let's see where you guys are joining us from. Maybe it's back in the States. Maybe it's in Australia. If so, kind of tell us again where, what city you're part of, because we really are excited to be with you guys and get to know you a little bit here.
Yeah, so far we've got a hello from Florida. Welcome all the way from Florida. Wow.
Woo!
Yeah. And then we have West Australia's. Welcome you so much. Let's see, that was Kathleen. Yvette's from, I'm going to butcher this, Wonthaggi, Victoria. And then we've got Orlando, Florida. Welcome. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. Then coming in on this one, we have Debbie Shellingsworth. Good morning from Queensland, Australia.
Welcome.
Wonderful. She does a little shout out to you, Roswitha, and says hi.
Hi.
Fun. Then we have Yvonne L. Chapman. Hello from Melbourne, Australia.
Oh, wow.
That's exciting. Very fun. Then we also have Andrea Booker. Morning from Sydney, Australia. This is exciting.
Okay.
Again, thank you everyone for the comments.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you again for joining us. We're really excited to be able to be here with you guys. And again, to be able to see where you're coming from. So again, throughout this, we encourage you guys to just make sure you're commenting, because actually in this first section, what we'll do in just a minute is we actually are going to do a live giveaway from those that have pre-registered.
Woohoo!
Woo! Yes. So registration is completely free. So if you have not done so, please do so, because you actually still have a chance to win some of the giveaways for tomorrow. And then a little bit later today, about midway through today, we'll also be doing some live giveaways, meaning that if you're watching live with us and you make a comment and it gets selected, woo, you win a free prize!
Yay!
Yes, so make sure, get those fingers warmed up again. Let's go through and we'll kind of read some more and say welcome to everyone. Let us know where you're coming from, because we're, again, really excited to be able to be live here with you guys.
Yeah, we've got Joanne Foote. She's coming all the way from New South Wales. And then we've got Shenna. She's from Primrose Valley in New South Wales. And then Nancy from Halifax, Nova Scotia. Welcome. Tawny is from Cora, New South Wales. Pauline for Toowoomba. Ooh, we're going to be in Toowoomba for the Craft Alive event. That's going to be so fun. Let's see. We've got Corinne from California. Welcome. Yay. Vicky from Wyoming. Paula from Alabama. And now Mary from Willara, Western Victoria. So, wow, we've got everybody coming all over the place.
Yeah, yes. That's great. It's great.
It is, yeah. And again, make sure that you register, because again, there's a lot of wonderful, wonderful giveaways we're gonna do. And then let's be honest, me and Jen, we've done a couple live events and we love giving things away for free. So make sure again that you've registered, and then make sure again, get those fingers warmed up. Let us know where you're from, because that's, again, we'll just kind of choosing randomly. And so we'll just select one of those from the comment sections. And then again, in this segment here, in this first morning segment, we will be choosing a winner from those that have pre-registered. But really quickly I want to just kind of take some time here with you, Roswitha, and we're going to go through what today is going to look like a little bit. So right now where we are is, this is just the intro. So again, this is just kind of a short 10, 11 minute so intro, and then we're going to kind of get right into it. And the first segment that we have is actually going to be how to quilt on the Cutie frame.
Oh, I love the Cutie frame. And you're in this one, right?
I am.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, this is actually a really exciting video, because it was one of the first videos I ever did, and it was almost like, honestly, the first time I ever really had any exposure to what the quilting world was. So it's a really neat one. Make sure to check it out, because especially with the Cutie frame, I think it's going to blow your mind a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, check that one out. And then just following that, we're going to do, it's called Little Quilts, Big Stitching with Lizzy Allen.
Oh, I love Lizzy. And I'm sure many of you have gotten to know her as well. She's a great ambassador for the Grace Company and for Know How Sewing. And so we're really excited to see her segment as well.
Yes, wonderful. And then kind of moving on, just right next to that is we're going to go right into It's So Easy Part 1. And so this is with Karla as well.
Karla Jerome is our head educator here at the Grace Company, and she does a great job of showing you how to make something on our products. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that'll be a fun one. It's a cool, the quilt that she's going to be doing, or the pattern I should say that she's showing you in that one, is a really neat one. It almost plays a little bit with your eyes and the way that she lays out the fabric. So that's a really fun one to be able to see. And then just following that, we're going to go over the Master Cutting Collection demo.
Ooh.
Yes, so this is exciting. That one actually is another one that me and Mark, my manager here at the Grace Company, did together, and we're going to go through all of the wonderful products that we have with Truecut that come in that collection specifically. And trust me when I say this, you do not want to miss that segment.
I love the Truecut products, and that's going to be really fun for you to see.
Yes, that's a wonderful segment. And I don't know, Roswitha, have you had the chance to use some of the Truecut products a little bit?
Yes, I have. And as you said, they are just wonderful, easy to use, and because I'm not that good cutter, so it helps me a lot to stay straight.
Yeah, that's me too. I'm always veering off.
Yes, yes. So
Yes.
that's great. That's excellent. Yeah, it's a great product.
Yeah,
And a
wonderful.
must
Thank
have
you.
in the studio, sewing
Yeah.
studio. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be a great one. And then actually just following that is we actually are going to do a live Q&A and then another live giveaway. So, you know, earlier, just a couple minutes ago, I mentioned that, again, we are going to do live giveaways chosen from those that are putting comments in. And so this is the segment where we'll be choosing those, and me and Gianna here with Roswitha are going to be showing you some of those items again during that segment, and then also to help answer any questions you may have had on any previous segment. So I know, you know, Roswitha had mentioned just a little bit ago that with Truecut it helps make her be more accurate. And so when we go into the Truecut, is we'll go a little bit into how that does it. But let's say you have a question or anything, we'll use that time to kind of go over any of those questions you may have.
And really quick, any of the patterns that we'll be using or presenting on the show today, the following day we'll have those patterns up on the site so you can download them for free.
Whoa, wait. Say for free?
For free. So all the patterns that are shown, we'll be able to download those later. We'll have a PDF available, yeah.
Wonderful. That's great, because then, you know, what's really nice about this is you'll actually be able to go back through and rewatch the segment. So once you get that pattern, if you're like, oh, I don't quite remember this or whatever, you'll be able to go back through and rewatch that segment so you can make sure, you know, follow along step by step. So that's wonderful. Thank you, Jana. And then just following that live giveaway, we're going to go into a fall gingham picnic basket quilt demonstration. So this will be a fun one. It's kind of a little bit different one. It's a little bit more, you know, fall as we're kind of getting into summer. It's a, you know, exciting thing, I guess, for you guys. It is fall there. So that's going to be a really fun one to get into. And then just following that, we're going to do how to choose the right frame for you.
This is a great one. Both Mark and I are on that. Mark is our sales manager here at the Grace Company. And if you've ever wondered which frame will fit best in your spot or which one's right for you, it's perfect for you to watch that.
Yes, yep, that'll be a wonderful one, because I know that's always a question. Dry is like, oh, well, I don't know, budget, space, you know, all that. So that'll be a great one again. You want to make sure not to miss that. And then just following that, it's going to be kind of a fun site. We're going to do a trunk show with Jackson.
Yay! We're so excited to have Jackson on our show.
Yeah, and then I know, Roswitha, have you maybe had the chance to meet with Jackson a little bit or talk with him?
Yeah, I knew Jackson even before he became a Grace ambassador. I met him in person at Quiltopia in 2019.
Oh,
when
great.
Nathan and Karla were out there. And he's a great quilter and a friend of ours. And we look after him. And yeah, he's a great person. Yeah, love him.
Oh, great.
Yeah, wonderful. I know he's done some great videos, and I know he's really kind of started his own career from the ground up himself, you know, so that'll be a really fun one to be able to see some of those quilts that he kind of, again, started, you know, from the ground up on that one. So, wonderful segment.
And then after that, we're going to be doing our final of the day, our giveaway. It's our Ultimate Cutting Collection. We'll do that for that pre-registration winner. And as LJ said earlier, if you haven't had a chance to pre-register, you still have a chance for tomorrow's prizes. Those haven't been selected, so they'll be selected from everybody who's pre-registered on the website. So go and pre-register, or have your friends come and register and give them a chance to win too.
Yeah.
Or not, if you don't want to give them an opportunity to win.
That's right. You know, give yourself more of a chance here with that one. Yeah, well, wonderful. Actually, I think we're going to kind of go right ahead into this first segment, which is going to be, again...
Well, actually, we're going to do our pre-registration thread. Yeah,
so that's what I'm talking about here. So, yeah, this is, again, chosen from those pre-registered, like Jenna said here.
Hello.
Yeah, so this will be a fun segment. So let me go ahead and pull it up so you guys can kind of see what is going to be coming with this kit here. So again, it's going to be, there you go, you can see it right there. We'll go ahead and take this off there just so you guys can see that. Again, it's going to be that 16 pack of thread. So that'll be a wonderful one where you'll be able to see that again, just all those wonderful different colors. There's some variegated, some solid in there. So, and again, this is chosen, one more time, like Jan had said, from those that have pre-registered. So we will be reaching out to you on this because, again, we have that information.
We have your information, yeah.
But make sure to keep an eye out in your email so that we can make sure to get you your prize as quick as possible on that. But let's go ahead and do a bit of a drum roll here for the winner of the 16 pack of thread. Woo! There we go.
Oh, congratulations, Kemi.
Wonderful. Congrats on that one. Again, that's that wonderful 16 pack of thread. And so thank you everyone for joining us for this first morning segment, but we're going to go ahead right into that first segment. Again, we had mentioned where it's how to quilt on the Cutie frame, and then make sure to stay tuned with us because we'll have some other live segments with live giveaways, and then make sure, again, we have some wonderful education pieces. So please be sure to stay tuned, but we're going to go ahead and right into this first segment here.
Welcome everyone, I'm Karla Jerome. This is Laurel, and I get to show Laurel how to use this fabulous little Cutie frame. First of all, it's very easy to put together. It is a solid little frame. It's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to vibrate off the table. So no need to worry about what surface you're really doing it on. You just want the table to be nice and level. You could even use it on your countertop, in your RV. It's just such a nice portable frame. Now, Laurel, that you've put it together, just make sure that you can move the carriage side to side, front to back freely. After you've set your machine on the frame, the height of this pole here is called a take-up pole because it takes up all your quilt after you've quilted. A good rule of thumb is to put your hand underneath with it laying flat, and you can tell it just barely hits, and so it's the perfect height right underneath here. So then, just coming and looking at this, you want to make sure that this pole, see how it kind of angles down just a little bit? Just make sure that it's even right underneath here. So to put your hand right across here and kind of tell.
Okay.
Let's talk about the sewing machine. These right here, these are called feet dogs. They grab the fabric and kind of push it along as you're piecing or sewing. Okay. These need to be down so you have a smooth surface. Gotcha. To move your quilt through. The other thing is the foot that you use. You need an embroidery foot or a quilting foot, something that makes it easy for you to glide across. You just want a smooth foot that you can easily see. Then the other thing is bobbins. I like to wind several bobbins before I start so that I don't have to stop in the middle of it. So look at your project and decide how much quilting you want on it and kind of guesstimate how many bobbins. Let's talk about preparing our pieced quilt for quilting. If you're going to piece your back, just make sure that you've ironed it and pieced it correctly. So we're going to lay our pieced backing, and I have gone and found my center of my backing, the top, and I've marked it with the pen, and the center with the bottom. So this will help me line up my batting. And I found the center of my batting as well, top and bottom, and I pinned it to my backing, and then I just pinned the sides. So now all I have to do is line up my pins, and I can just move it over and line it up. And that's all we have to do. Let's talk about leaders. I have a few inches on the top and a few inches on the bottom. The leaders are an extension of your fabric. If you don't have them, you will need to make your backing that much wider and that much longer. One leader, it's got cording in it to help you start rolling it up. You'll find the center of your leader. I'm going to just take my pencil here, or my pen, and just mark it. And I write a C for center. I'm just going to take my leader, and I'm going to line my backing up all my pins, and I can take one pin and just pin straight across. And I'm just going to do that all the way across my top. And so we'll quickly do that. And the same thing that I do at the top, I'll do with the bottom. You'll just pin it straight across. And you'll always pin from the center out. And the reason is if you get a wrinkle or anything like that, you're pulling it from the center out so that you can adjust. Now this leader is quite a bit longer, and that's for your larger size quilts. So don't cut it down. It's not going to inhibit you in any way. It's just going to help you. You do the same thing with the bottom one, and the bottom one's even wider. So as you get to the end of your quilt, the leaders allow you to quilt all the way to the edge of your beautiful quilt that you've created. If you didn't have them, you'd have to cut a portion of it off because you couldn't sew because it'd be wrapped up over the pole. And I have a couple of sets because I get bored with my quilts, and so I like to jump from one project to another. So sometimes it's nice to have 2 sets. And with these frames, you can take them on and off and start on something new. We're going to slide our leader through the arm of our machine and adjust it to start quilting. We want to make sure we're putting our backing and our batting and everything under the foot. One thing I want you to notice, your carriage and your machine will only go so far before it hits the sides. So if you move your machine all the way to the side, you can notice that eventually your machine and your carriage will hit the side of the frame. And we don't want that to disrupt our quilting, okay? So I'm going to adjust my starting side out of way so that as I'm starting, I'm not going to hit. I'm going to move it all the way down. But I want to make sure that I can quilt this edge, okay, without it hitting.
Okay.
And now we can start putting our clamps on. And you want to adjust it also so that you can start right on this edge. So you can pull the batting up just a little bit. And so bring your machine out where it's going to start. See, we have that much area. So let's pull it up just a tad more. And there we go.
Okay.
And sometimes I'll put my needle in the down position. So what I like to do now is make sure my back has no wrinkles in it.
Okay.
And so I like to just pull it. And then sometimes I'll baste across the top edge to hold my quilt in place as well. So we'll have you do that in just a minute. So what we're going to do is we're going to now put on our 2 bottom clamps. Okay, and they go on a specific way. So you look at the name right here. This name has to be showing correctly, and we want to take these up off.
So facing you.
Yeah, facing you.
Cutie, like I did.
Yeah, so the cutie needs to be facing so you can read it, not upside down, okay? And as you clamp it on, and clamp it down. And it comes with 2 side clips, so you can put them on. And it comes with 2 side leaders also, so you could clamp that on and pin it, so you get extra tension. And helps keep it nice and straight. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull our quilt out, and we're going to start rolling it up. And you can look at your wrinkles on the back as you're rolling. I've got one right here. Just pull it out from the center out, just like you would on a rolling frame. And just keep rolling. Now we're just going to clamp it. Let's start rolling this on, and we can clamp this as well. And make sure you're counting all your little clamps, because if you leave one undone, you'll notice it and feel it. Okay. With this frame, you can sit or stand. If you're using a machine that requires a foot pedal, you will want to sit. So I'm going to have you sit down. You want to make sure that your machine is threaded correctly. And so make sure that you have the thread pulled through your tension knob and through the spring so that you get that tension. But right now, you can tell that as I pull this, how easy it is to pull.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
because your presser foot, which is this foot right here, and this is the presser foot lever, isn't down. Once I put the presser foot down, you can feel that tension. And so you need to remember to put the presser foot down. Otherwise, you're going to have really loose tension, and your thread's going to look like shag carpet underneath, and you don't want that. Once you have the presser foot down, you want to make sure that you bring your bottom thread up. So find the needle up, needle down button on your machine, and it'll go down, and then push it one more time, and it brings the needle back up. Now if you'll just barely move your machine away, see how it's going to pull up that bottom thread?
Okay. Yeah, the loop.
So that you don't have any of those thread tails underneath, okay?
Okay.
So you just pull that up. One other thing I want to point out is we want to tack down the edges of our quilt, just in case we sew off the edge. Notice that my foot is underneath my quilt, so if I sew off the edge and I start coming back, it's going to grab that quilt and make a wrinkle in it, and it can even tear your quilt. So what we're going to do is move the machine down as far as we can. I'm going to lift up the presser foot just a little bit, put it on that white area right there, because it doesn't matter how straight it is. I'm going to cover this with my binding. So when you're pushing down on the foot pedal, if you push too slowly, the machine's just going to barely start revving up and start moving, just like with a car. And so you want to make sure that you give it enough acceleration so that as you're pushing it, your stitches look decent. And you're going to go up to this corner and go across as far as you can reach. Okay, now start going across. See how easy that is? There we go. Now you hit the back. So now you can hit that thread cutter if you want. There you go. So now we've tacked down our quilt. Laura, do you feel comfortable just jumping in? I've drawn the design on for you and start to quilt, or do you want to practice first?
I've never really done this before, so let me practice.
So practicing to get the motor skills and the thought process is really important to free motion quilting. So just take some time. We got our paper here. And Laurel has her pencil. You could maybe kind of draw the design through the paper, and it doesn't have to be exact. It's just to learn the motion so that you understand it before you start quilting. Take a piece of paper, lay it over the fabric, and just trace an outline of them so that you can understand the proportion and how far up and how far down to move.
We'll start with just that.
Yeah. Okay. So just move it off to the side here and just see what I've done. So you're just going to start up there, and you just start with this one right here.
So just
and just go up, down, up, down. It's really easy. I chose really simple, easy designs to start out with. But even the simple, basic designs like up, down movements make your quilt that much prettier.
Yeah, well, this is good for me because like I said, I've never really done this before, so
all you do.
Simple's good.
And then when you feel comfortable, then we'll just start. Yeah.
Okay, I think I got a good idea.
All right, I've taken a chalk pencil, and in the star area, I thought it'd just be fun to just do a nice little long loop. One other thing I want to point out, with the hoop frame, because you have covered up most of your area, you don't know when you're going to be coming close to the end to hit it. Yeah. So we'll take a little piece of tape, move my machine down here, and we're going to mark it just inside this area. This block right here is as far as we can move. Now the front. You know that you're not going to have enough area to quilt this block here or a part of this block, okay? So we're going to have to just focus on this area up here, and then we'll shift it so you can do this whole block all at once. So you're just going to focus on this top row, and you remember how to pull your thread up?
Yes.
Take a deep breath. And start out slow, and you'll get very comfortable, and then just enjoy.
Okay, well, let's go for it.
There you go. Good job. And you don't have to stay right on the lines. It's just nice and smooth. Yeah. It's fun, isn't it?
Yes.
There's your first one.
Boom. Okay. I got this.
Yes, you do. She has it.
Okay, let's try just a little bit of this one.
Okay.
I'm just going to start right here.
There you go. Nice. See, she's getting more confident, so she's going a little faster, just like your learner's permit.
Yes.
There you go.
Awesome. Look at that. I can totally do this.
Yes, you can. We knew that all along. So now while we've got Laurel quilting, I'm going to talk to you about the different machines that this Cutie frame can accommodate. Up to a 19-inch machine. So you can put the 15M, the 15R, the 15 Pro, or the 19-inch machine on this frame. And what's nice about it is this piece right here extends out, so it can give you more quilting surface for you to quilt. Another nice feature is you can add automation to it. You are not limited to the way you want to quilt. If you are not comfortable with the free motion quilting, you can add automation and have it do the quilting for you. It's just a fabulous frame. It is for anybody and everybody. If you need a second frame and you like to quilt on the go, this is the frame for you because you can fold it up, put it away, and store it and get it back out. If you're a seasonal quilter and you have a second home and you need a quilting frame, hey, this is good for you. Somebody who's in assisted living who wants to keep doing what they love, this is the frame for you. And you saw with Laurel, man, she's going for it. She is a quilter now. And are you liking it, Laurel?
Yeah. I just want to keep going.
Laurel has finished up everything that she could quilt and as far out as she could quilt. And so now she gets to shift the quilt to finish up the next section. So that's what we're going to do right now. When you're rolling or when you're shifting, you don't want to roll it up all the way past so that you have a space in between as you're quilting. So you want to leave a little bit of what you quilted showing. So maybe about a ½ an inch.
Okay.
We'll just shift it down this way. And we'll just lock it into place and you can finish up and then we'll roll it up.
Okay.
Let's lock all these in place first.
Okay.
I always like to lock these in place so I can get the wrinkles out. All right, and let's just pull this up. Kind of pull it out like that.
Oh, yeah.
And put it on. And then we'll just lock it into place. She's going to just finish this next section, and then we're going to shift it and start rolling so that she can finish this. And then I'm just going to come around here. And with your leader claws, you get a little leader to hold right here, but I'm just going to hold
Okay,
it.
I think I'll tuck it down really quick.
There you go. There you go. Nice. Right there. There you go.
Okay. Come in and do these sections.
All right, she's just got a few more to do. And see how quickly she's mastered using her domestic machine and the design. It really does help to draw your design in your blocks. And she's mastered the foot pedal, thread cutter really well. Don't you feel like you're kind of in your groove? You've got your rhythm,
Yeah,
you
just
know
keep
what you're
going.
doing.
Yes.
It's comfortable now.
Yes.
All right, what we're going to do is unclamp and we're going to adjust it so it's up just a little bit, okay? Take these off. And this cording on this leader cloth just helps to make it a little easier for you to start rolling your quilt. Let's move the machine over here and make sure that we have enough room that we can quilt this.
Okay.
And so that's what we want to do. And because when we put our clamps on, let's put this clamp on first, then let's see where it lands. Okay, that's pretty close, and we're going to hit the back there. So we don't want to, and we can't even quilt the whole design.
Okay.
So we know we've done it too far, but that's what I'll do, is I'll sit there and I'll adjust one end.
Okay.
That way it's easier to line up all the way down the quilt.
Gotcha.
Okay, there we go.
So then you can see.
But can we, yeah, we can, close.
Okay.
All right.
I was going to say, even just doing this little bit of section, I really like the domestic machine because I think it's a good starting point. But I find myself wishing I had a bigger throat space just because already I could have stitched maybe this whole section.
Right. We'll just put this on and pull it as we'll, so let's just pull this section right here. And we'll let you put this one on. Quickly roll it up.
Let's pull up the chair.
Remember, we need to mark so
Oh,
that you
yes.
don't hit the edges, okay?
Okay.
So you can take your existing piece, then let's move it down this direction. Let's figure out how far we can do it. Oh, right there, that's almost perfect. So you're just gonna stop right there, okay?
Okay.
Nice job.
Awesome.
Laurel has mastered quilting.
Yes.
So Laurel, this is your very first time machine quilting
Yes.
using the little Cutie tabletop fabric frame.
Yes.
So, was it easy?
Yes. Oh, yes. It was way easier than I thought it was going to be. It was super easy to get the hang of, to be able to just hook it on.
Could you go home and do it by yourself?
Oh, yeah.
If I wasn't there to coax you along
Yes.
and help you, and did you enjoy it?
Yes, I already want to keep going. I just want to keep doing the whole thing.
She's gonna keep going. So thank you for joining us, and we hope you've learned a few things and purchase your Cutie tabletop fabric frame today.
Hi everyone, I'm Lizzy from Thimble & Thread Quilting. So this is a fun little project that I have here on my sewing machine, and I am going to show you how I'm going to quilt it, but I thought it might be nice to show you how, for busy quilters with never enough time, how to cheat and use our sewing machine to stitch down our hexes so that they always look like they've been hand stitched. Now, the project for this will be available from Grace. You'll just simply download it. I'm just making a little wall quilt, and I'm going to do something a little bit different. When I quilt it, I've been looking at all these beautiful pictures out there of the new long stitch quilting, and I'm going to quilt it with some, it's Wonderful, and it's 12 weight 2-ply poly. And this is the thickest thread that we can use in our quilting machine. So it's sort of a little bit modern, a little bit retro. So I'll get on with the stitching and show you how I do this. And then we'll pop over to the long arm and I'll show you how we set it all up to use the new 12 weight thread. Okay, so these are my hexes. Now, I did these really easy. I just used hexie water-soluble papers that you can buy online. And I used my lovely glue stick and I just glue basted the edges and I pressed them. Then basically I then just glue basted this to the back of my fabric. The reason for that is I don't like pins everywhere when I go to stitch, and it also means that it's nice and stable. I just use the Bostik glue sticks. You can get them in clear or blue. I prefer blue so I can see where I've been. So I just glued them all into position. Now what I'm going to do is I've threaded up the machine, and what I've put in the machine is it's actually Superior threads and it's micro quilter. Basically it's the 100 weight. So what it is Invisa thread. So I don't mind which brand you use, they all work, they're great. I've just gone for a great beige thread so it will blend into the bright colours I'm using here into my background. So I've threaded up the machine. Now the stitch that I'm going to use, I've chosen to do a zigzag. Now what I've done is the width of my zigzag is actually 0.8 and the depth of the zigzag is 1.5. So I've installed my open toe foot because I really do need to see what I'm doing because I can barely see the thread. But the thread is really nice and it will burrow into our background fabric. So one of the other things I do is I always wash my background, but I never wash the applique pieces, so that in the event I do wash it, when this shrinks, it'll be about a 3% shrink. If I do have a wayward stitch that's sticking up, instead of unpicking, it will actually shrink and pull my stitches down for me. So I don't like to say it's cheap needle turn because the needle turn ladies get very upset. So this is what I would call a turned machine applique project. Now you might even like to do yours just with a raw edge blanket stitch, But basically I've turned these, I've glued them into position, and now I'm going to stitch. So with my open toe foot, I basically line up the center, and I've just lost my sewing foot, and I love this machine. I always work that when I stop and start, the needle is in the down position, and I just use it as a guide, and basically I'm now appliquing those into position. And the wonderful thing is nobody can actually see that I have cheated. Now that's why I stop and start with the needle in the down position. My machine allows me to, it just lifts the foot enough for me to actually ease my fabric into the next position. And now I just stitch these. It's one of my favourite things to do because I'm sure, like all of you other quilters out there, life gets in the way, and I see all these wonderful projects and I want to do them all. So here we go. And it's really, really very fast, so I can get on with the bit that makes me smile, which is the quilting. And I have been naughty. There has been occasions where I have literally blind stitched my hexies together. These I didn't. I just paper pieced them in front of the television. I call it telly time. And I hand stitched them all together with just a whip stitch across the back and then basted them down. Honestly, there's not a right or a wrong. You'll find your preferred method. Okay, so basically I've only got 3 or 4 more to do, and then we'll be off to the quilting machine, so watch this space. Hi everyone, so I finished the applique. So I did have a couple of awkward stitches that I weren't too happy about, so I just spray starched it, shrunk it with the iron, and the stitching looks really, really good. So I've gone ahead and I have popped my backing on, I've put my batting, and I've basted the top down. Now this is something new and I haven't really done this before, so I have a Cutie Pro 21 and I've gone ahead and I've put my ruler base on because I'm going to do this with straight lines, geometric shapes, because when I had a look at what the girls are doing with the big stitch hand quilting, it was really less is more. So they tend to just do straight line, geometric. Now, I always like to do a test sample of the thread tension. So this was really easy. I basically did a half turn on my tension disc to take the thicker 12 weight 2-ply thread. Now I'm using the rayon, so the rayon's really soft, but there is plenty of cotton 2-ply 12 weight out there if you just prefer to use cotton or even a poly cotton. Now to achieve the effect of the big stitch look that the girls are using, I played around and I personally liked number 4 stitches per inch, and I'm going to use the regulated precise mode. Now one of the things I'm going to do is I'm not going to go too fast because it is a softer thread and I don't want to put it under too much tension. And I did get some of my budget circle rulers out because I thought it might even be fun to just do some big circles on it. So we'll see how we go. But take the time, do a tension test on a piece of scrap and see what works for you. So let's start quilting. Okay, so I've gone ahead, done needle up, down, and I've made sure I've locked off the stitches. So here we go. I'm just going to try and do a lovely Now, I should have gone into my settings and started and stopped with my needle in the down position. It makes it a lot easier to move our ruler. So I'm pretty happy with how that looks. And just, it's important when you use a ruler, it's just a guide. You're just guiding it along. And I'm just going to go up. And I'm probably going to do, probably maybe an inch increment as we go along, just to see what it looks like. So here we go. Just turn my ruler around. All right. I'm actually really happy with it. It certainly creates an entirely different look to the quilting, so it's something fun. And I apparently have to do a good job of this because my daughter has decided that she's having this. Okay, so, and then what I'm going to do is for something just a little bit different, I've decided to do about a 2-inch gap, and then I'll do a nice short gap between it, because I'm just sort of looking for something that's a little bit different. And as you can see with the thread, I'm not going that fast, which is perfectly okay because I love how it's starting to take shape. Okay, now I'm going to swap over and let's see how a circle goes. Here we go. Stop, move my hand into a different position. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to swap over to a larger one. Honestly, I'm not really doing this with any rhyme or reason. I just decided I wanted to try something that was just a little different. Just come. Now, with the big stitch quilting, one of the things I thought about was the stops and starts, because as the thread's so heavy, it would be honestly very noticeable if I stop and start. So now I'm going to do something sneaky. I'm going to do my circle, come back, and then do the rest of my straight line. I'm thrilled with that. So here we go. I'll go up and do a circle at the top here. Even with the ruler work, just go nice and slow and steady. Don't bear down on your ruler base. Remember, the ruler is there as a guide to actually assist you. Here we go. Pop another circle in there. So they're all going to sort of look interlocking without really any rhyme or reason. Move my hand. It's actually really been quite fun. Now I'm just travelling back up to the top, and now I'm just going to do some 45-degree lines, I think, just to give the outer edge something a little bit different. And I just travelled back. The thread is really quite pretty. It's got almost a metallic side to it. Let's do this one straight. Okay, so I just had to roll on just to give myself a little bit more space, and I'm just going to start again. circles on this side. Okay, so it probably took about 10 minutes to quilt the whole thing. I'm just going to do some close-ups there for you. And I'm really, really happy how it turned out. And it was just a little bit different to do. And as you can see, the thread's a little metallic. And it probably would have looked better if I'd used a nice grey cotton, but overall I'm pretty thrilled at how quick and easy it was to actually do. Now I'm going to show you how to put the binding on while we have it on the machine. Okay, so I've actually finished the quilting, really happy with it. Before I take it off though, I've decided I'm going to put the binding on while it's on the machine. It's one of the easiest things to do, and when somebody says to me, oh, would you mind popping the binding on, I do this as I go along. So I turn around and I find the center of the actual binding and I mark the center point over here and I line it all up. Now what I've done is I've used my rulers and my blue water soluble pen, and basically I've squared up the block before I just go and whack a binding on. Now if you're really nervous, I don't pin mine down, but honestly it's okay to pop your pins in provided you put them in vertically. So I'm going to place a pin there up on the edge of my blue water soluble. Now when I come down to the end here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold my binding up on a 45 degrees. So let's see if you can see that nice and clearly. So I fold it up and I crease it with my finger and then I bring it down. So I'm going to then mark that line with my pen, because that's basically where I need to start stitching so I get a perfect stitch. So I'll show you what we do. The great thing about this is it takes a couple of minutes, so binding's done. So needle up, needle down, and of course I've changed back to my normal thread. So let's go, just lock off a couple of stitches there. Now if you're not comfortable, it is perfectly okay to use a ruler. I normally don't, because we've got these great quilting feet, they're 1/4 inch, so I just run that along the edge of the binding, and oops, need to increase my stitches to 7 stitches. That's because I was doing big stitch quilting. I'll go back and fix that in a minute. So it's great because when I take this off, the binding's on. And okay, so there's my blue water soluble line for the 45. So I will go back and I just move my machine out the way for a minute. I don't bother locking off those stitches and starting again. So I turn my binding on a 45-degree angle. Then I bring it back down on the straight. Now, I do make sure that I have like a 2mm peeper. It just means I get a much nicer corner on that binding. So just lock that off. Once again, you know, I don't put a lot of pins in. I just pop a pin further down here so that the binding stays where I want it to under tension. And look, I'm going to show you. It's very easy just to not use a ruler and just gently guide yourself down. Move your pin to the next position. And I'll just back stitch there, lock that off, and go and do the other side before rolling on. So here we go. Let's go up here. Now I'll just trim these stitches off here so that I don't make a mess. So let's trim those off. Then once again, turn my fabric on that lovely 45. Bring it down. Make sure I've got that 2mm peeper up the top. And let's just go and bring up my bobbin thread and lock that off. It really is important to lock those threads off so that when I start stitching, I do have even tension. And then once again, I'll just sneak in. Stop. Place my pin in position. Further down to give the binding a bit of tension. And I'm ready to roll on. I continue to stitch the binding down each side. For me, it's a wonderful thing to be able to do because on some of the big quilts, they are so heavy to pop through our machines when we take them off. So I go right round the outer edge and I've popped the binding on, and what I do is that's about a 4-inch gap. I leave that so that I can just quickly take this off, go over to the machine, close those tails, and it was a 5-minute job. I hope you all have some fun creating your own big stitch quilts and continue to enjoy spring fling. Happy quilting, Lizzy.
welcome. Today I get to talk to you about our Truecut system and show you a really easy quilt. It looks complicated, but it's not, and I'm excited to show it to you. So let me just jump in and talk about our Truecut really quick. I just want to just recap of why we came out with Truecut. My brother, when we came out with it, he decided that there needed to be a cutting system that would make the cutting for the quilts easier, safer, and more accurate. And so we developed the rotary cutters with a guide to go over a track on the rulers. So you'll notice that all of our rulers have what we call as a track, and it's just a built-up piece of plastic that keeps you locked into place. And as you're cutting, you see that little space in between there, you put that over the track and you just ride along it. So it doesn't allow you to deviate and move. So you get nice, straight, even cuts, even when you're cutting with the triangle rulers. So it keeps it more accurate when you're ready to start sewing, and which is really important because we like our blocks to look nice and square and the seams come together. So this is what I'm going to show you today is my Sew Easy quilt, and I just want to talk to you about how I found this. So I was looking for a rug for my house, and I saw this design, and it's this one right here. And you see, it looks really, really complicated, but I was looking at it a little closer, and I thought, hey, all that is 60-degree triangles put together. And then I figured out how to make it easier to sew together by sewing strips. So you will align the triangles in different ways all the way down your quilt, and then you'll sew it. So you'll sew it a strip at a time. So I just kind of, as I was looking at it, thought, hey, that would be a really cool quilt to cut out and sew together and then quilt. So I'm going to show you my little process of how I came out with that. So anyway, I didn't have sizes of my strips, so I just kind of guessed, okay? So you don't have to use my specific strip sizes. You can deviate and do your own thing, which I encourage because I love quilters who will see something and make it their own. So this is just to encourage you as you're looking at other people's quilts and things like that, that you will make it your own and not follow me exactly, unless you want to. I'm not here to say one way or the other, but I just want to encourage you to move forward and do something that you like to enhance your quilts. So anyway, what I did is I decided that I would use 2.5 and 1.5 inch strips. So what I did is first of all, this is a learning curve for me because I've never done this before. So I have some things to learn and some things to show you, some tricks that I found out along the way. So for my green and blue and white one, I made a 1.5 inch strip and then 2.5 inch strips, okay? So you just need to cut those out, and you need 3 different colors. So you'll need a dark, a medium, and a light color to just get the effect of it, of what the box, the illusion is what I'm trying to say. So just make sure that you don't have to use the colors that I choose, but do we want to put those colors up right now, Bryant? So let me just show you some ideas. And Bryant's put some different colors up, and they look really pretty and very neat. So there's just some ideas for you. I'm cutting out a red, white, and blue one, and my blue, white, and green. So just know that that's what I'm working on today. So on my 60 degree, it is 8 inches from top to bottom. Yes, and what I'm going to do is cut out my triangles at 6.5. For your strips, you're going to need blue and green and a green and blue strip. You'll need 6 sets of strips to make your block. So you'll want the blue, let me just show you here. You'll want the blue and the green strips. You'll want the blue and white strip. You'll want a green and white strip because those will go together. And then you'll want the green. So you want the opposites. You want the green and blue strips. And then you'll want the white and blue strips. And then this one here is the green and white. So you have just the opposites. So I have the opposite of the green and the white, the opposite of the blue and white, and then I have the opposite of the green and the blue. So that will make your square. And then, as you're cutting your strips, just want to show you how nice the holes are in the ruler. If you haven't seen them or you haven't used them, this was my opportunity to show you how easy it is to line things up. And I'm just going to get my white out here. And sorry, it's a little wrinkled. I had to iron my red, but I didn't think I needed to iron my white. But sometimes it's a good idea to iron if you need to. And I want to get everything out the way so I don't cut on my triangles that I've already cut. And because I've opened this up and I know that my edges probably aren't exactly, I'm just going to cut another simple edge. And I'm just going to take it and I'm going to line it up along my 23-inch. And I'm going to lay it so that my top and my bottom are right on there. And I'm just going to hold it in place because it's just right along this edge. And I'm going to just move. And see how it made it nice and steady and straight and it didn't move back and forth? That's what's nice about that guide. Okay, so just want to show you how easy it is to line up my 2.5 inch. Okay, so here's my 2.5 inch right here. I don't know if you can see it. And because of the holes, I know right here, I'm lining it up top to bottom, and the holes just make it easier. See how I've got half of it on that hole? All the way down. And I'm just going to hold it in the middle there. I'm going to take my cutter, put my guide over it, and then just cut. And you just get a nice, straight, even cut every time. And you don't deviate, and it just works really well. So if you haven't purchased it, I know we're running some promotional specials on the Truecut, the Comfort Cutter, because it has the curved handle, makes it easier on your wrist and your shoulders, because you're actually getting more pressure, force pushing down because you're over the top of it. So it's like you don't have to have as much pressure. Now you can use it the way the guys like to hold it, or you can hold it like I do. I like my thumb over it. I think my thumb has a little more strength. But sometimes if you have carpal tunnel or problems with your wrist, then holding it like this isn't the proper way. So try it with your finger over it because it'll keep it more aligned, nice and straight. And it just takes a little getting used to, 1 or 2 cuts, and then you'll be hooked, and you won't be able to go back to a straight cutter. But I do have my straight cutter here. Now, notice that this straight cutter, you can remove the guide if you want to. So for cutting multiple layers at a time, which I wouldn't cut a huge amount because your accuracy isn't as good when you're cutting several layers. However, with this guide, you can only cut up to maybe 4 layers, probably not anymore. Without the guide, you could probably cut up to 8. So just know that if you have a block that doesn't need to be as accurate and you want to cut more layers, then take the guide off and cut more layers. So I just wanted to also show you how well the sharpener works. As I always have the sharpener by my cutting station, and because as you're cutting, you don't want to stop. You're in the groove and you just want to get it done. It's not one of my favorite things to do at all. So I'm just going to open it up, and you don't have to take the blade out or anything. And so notice, I don't know if you can see, that the stone is right here on this side. So I will be sharpening this side right here. And so I'm just going to push it right here, and you don't have to hold on to it. Go down it, and this really, and then you'll just turn it, and then you'll sharpen the other side. And you can hear it, and then you can see. And it really sharpens. And so I'm just going to cut a 1.5-inch piece right here and show you. Now, it has a tendency to slide because I don't have my guide on, but yeah, my blade was getting dull. There we go. And it just keeps you cutting. So, some great tools, and check it out at our Truecut store, and yeah, it's a great purchase. Anyway, so enough of that cutting. I want to show you how easy it is to take your 60-degree ruler and cut. I'm just going to take this blue and white here, and I'm going to show you. So this is my top, this is my bottom. And I'm going to line it up, and like I said, I made those 6.5. I'm going to make these 7 because it's a different, it's the red, white, and blue quilt. And I'm going to get, what's nice is I have the guide, so as I'm cutting, I'm going to be able to go straight up, and then I'm going to be able to hook it onto this and then come down this direction. There we go. And it works out really nice. And so you can turn it around and do one on the opposite side if you want, coming back down this way. But you want to make sure that you've got it the correct size. And then you'll just come back down. And then there's that one. So I'm really getting 2 blocks, and you can turn it back and forth, or you can just go down, back and forth. But you just want to keep it nice and straight and accurate, and you don't want it too big. So I'm going to just line it up again. I'm just going to have a little bit of waste, not too much, as I'm cutting. And then I'm just going to come back down this way. So if I was using just a straight cutter, then I'd have a tendency to veer off. But with this guide, I'm not going to veer off, so I'm just going to have a little waste. So that's how you'll be cutting your little triangles. Now, once you have the triangles complete, you're going to start sewing them together. And let me get my little... So once you have your group of triangles, and you'll have 6 triangles to make one hexagon, and this is how you'll sew it together. So you'll lay it out, okay? And I lay out all my quilts so that as I pick them up a block at a time, it's just easier rather than having to unpick because you've turned it the wrong direction when you've taken it to the sewing machine to start sewing. So I lay mine all out, and my cat loves to play on my quilts. And so I have to cover them with a blanket, but this is how you'll bring them together and you'll sew them together. So notice how I have them turned and then I'm sewing the strips. And that's how you're going to sew it. So just makes it easy. Very easy. All right. All right, and I just wanted to show you. Okay, so here's my strip that I'm working on. So I will have 2 quilts. And notice at the top here, I have these little ears. These are what I will cut off right here. So I have a 1/4 inch seam, and I'm just going to cut it off nice and straight and then put my border on. But I will have that all done, and I will have some really good instructions for you for how to put it together. But it is an easy quilt. It's not complicated or hard at all. Just, takes time. And I like things that go together really quick, but there are times that you just have to take your time and make sure that you're cutting it out nice and straight and putting it together. So, there's a little learning curve in there, but it's going to be one fun quilt. And so I will have both of those ready to show you next week when we get back together. And actually what we're going to do is we're going to free motion quilt one, and on the other one we're going to use the automation, and so that you can get a little feel for free motion quilting and learn a little bit about the automation. I'm very excited to show you both techniques. It just makes it a lot more fun and easier. And I just really want to encourage you to jump in and check out our Truecut line. I'm not kidding. From the sharpeners to the rulers to the rotary cutters, you won't find a better system to help you with your quilting and cutting to keep you safe from cutting your fingers, to keep you more accurate, which is so important, and to make it easier on your neck and shoulders, because quilters, we do a lot of bending of our heads, and I constantly am feeling this, and you're probably going to the chiropractor a lot, so this can really help eliminate a lot of stress and strain on your wrist and your shoulders and your neck. So make sure that you check that out. Does anybody have any questions or anything? Okay. It says. Oh, okay. She says she's suburban, and she says, I'm very upset. I'm a hand quilter, and the leg on my Grace Z44 split 2 days ago. You're welcome to contact us and get a replacement for that. We still have replacement parts for the Z44, so give us a call. It's 800-264-0644. And Louise Armstrong, she says, I love the Santa quilt. How do I get the pattern and recommendations? Oh, so the Santa quilt behind me, yeah, it's a 60-degree triangle right here. It's the same thing. And so, yeah, we'll find the pattern, and we will make sure that that's available for you to get. So email me if you're interested in that. It's Karla with a K, Karla at Grace, GRACE, frame, FRAME.com. And I'll be more than happy to direct you where that pattern is. So just let me know. Okay, so anyway, I just want to express my thanks to all of you for joining me today. I knew that this would be a little quick demonstration, but I just was very excited to show you the cutting. And I didn't want to sit there and sew in front of you. Everybody knows how to sew. I just wanted to show you how to cut out the quilt and get you excited to get the pattern. and show you next week my finished product and how easy it came together. And we'll get started quilting. And we are going to learn a few easy techniques on free motion quilting. And I'm going to show you how easy it is just to use the automation. It's not hard at all to make the quilts your own and using your own designs is a lot of fun. Thank you for joining me, and I wish you all the very best.
Thank you for joining us today. My name is Mark.
And I'm Laurel.
And today we have an exciting package
Yes.
to show everybody. It is called our Master Cutting Collection. Super exciting to show this. There's a lot of product in this package.
Fantastic.
Let's go over what's in that package, LJ.
Yeah, so actually you get quite a few rulers with it. 3 of them that you get is actually 3 of the square rulers. You get the different sizes. You get 6.5 by 6.5, 9.5 by 9.5, 12.5 by 12.5. So it's great. You get 3 different sizes that you can do on the square rulers. And then we also have 3 different sizes of the rectangular rulers. As you can see here, I'll hold this one off. You can see this is our 3 by 18, this is our 6.5 by 12.5, and then this bigger one here is our 6.5 by 24.5.
And that's our most popular one.
Yes,
It's 6.5 by
it is.
24.5. In fact, all those rulers are very popular, which is why we bundled it in this package.
Yes,
But
all of it.
the 6.5 by 24.5 gives you that nice long cut. Now with the rulers, also comes with the cutter.
Yes, so you get our awesome, fantastic, quick release 45 millimeter cutter. And then another cutter you actually get with it is our amazing 360 or circle cutter. And we'll talk a little bit about this later, but I'll tell you what, I wasn't a fan of cutting circles until I tried this out. So
And most aren't. Most
Yes.
aren't. You know, when I would talk about circles, I heard that all the time. So most aren't excited to circles, but with this, it'll change your
you'll
mind.
get excited.
Okay, and we also have the electric sharpener.
Our fantastic electric sharpener that
Yes.
allows you to bring blades back to almost factory perfect.
What else does this package come with?
It comes with what we call true grips, and we'll go a little bit more into this as well, but it's fantastic. It helps you be able to keep your rulers in place.
That's right, and they don't get not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 packs of the true grips. All right, let's talk about the cutter ruler. What makes those so unique?
One point that I love to point out is that we have our awesome guide and track system. So our rulers have these guides, and they're great. You can see there's a little bit of a lip on the edge there of them that actually can interlock with the rulers, and it actually interlocks with any of the rulers we have. So every ruler that comes in this kit has that track system that can interlock with this cutter.
So wait a minute. So if they interlock together, what does that do?
Yeah, so actually I'll show you here. One of the great things about it is oftentimes when you start quilting, sometimes you can veer off, or sometimes you can nick yourself, you know, because you're trying so hard to push down, you can go the other direction. So one of the great things is that we actually have this guide system that you can see here. I'll bring it to the edge. That actually makes it so I can't pull the cutter away from the ruler. So that way, if I'm trying to go all the way along, I can keep a nice straight cut the entire way.
So what you're saying is this guide can interlock with the ruler, and that is with all of our rulers. So our square rulers, our rectangle rulers, they interlock, and once it interlocks, you're going to have that accurate cut. So it's going to be an easier cut, you're going to be safer, and you'll be more accurate in all your cuts. Stories. How many stories we know that people have smaller quilts because they're cutting, or they have to keep trimming it, or they have to maybe start a little, maybe over again because they messed up, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. I've had a lot of times. I had this one person who came in once and she's like, oh, you know what? I've done a lot of cutting and it just wasn't something they were a huge fan of, and when they did it, they kept veering off, and that's part of the reason they didn't love it. But when I was like, you know what? Let me show you a fantastic product that will completely eliminate that. And so I showed her this system, and she was like, what? Game changer. She was finally able to do the size quilts that she wanted. She wasn't, you know, making smaller quilts anymore because she was able to keep the size of the patterns that she wanted.
That's great. Now, let's go ahead and talk about these products individually a little bit. Let's look at the straight cutter. The straight cutter has a couple nice unique features about it. One is the quick release, and so changing out the blade is now simple and easy. You don't have to really handle the blade anymore. So the fear of cutting yourself, so quick release. So on the back side of this cutter, it has a lever. We're going to go ahead. I'm going to just pop that in my, look at that, quick release. Okay, and to put it back on, you'll see that there is that hole on the cutter, and that simply goes right over the shaft and snaps right into place. Okay, so you have that quick release. The other nice thing about this is how nice and comfortable it feels in your hand with a straight cutter. Not a lot of straight cutters feel that way, but this one, you have that nice comfort feel to the cutter, which allows you to enjoy your cutting and cut often. The other nice thing about this cutter is obviously you can go from right hand to left hand being a straight cutter. So if you like to cut using both of your hands, you can do now. You can do
very
so
easily.
All right. So now let's look at the rulers. The rulers, Laurel, have some features about them that's unique to the Truecut line. One in particular you already mentioned was that guide. That guide on the ruler keeps you cutting straight and also is safety. So as we look at the taller edge there, what that does is two things. One is once you interlock it with our guide, you're able to keep that cutter going straight, just like you said. So once I put it on there, I cannot move away from that ruler's edge. The other nice thing about being a taller edge is I won't go up and over the ruler as we cut. Now, we mentioned some of those, right? As we're cutting, we can go away from the ruler's edge or go up and over the ruler. So with that being a taller edge, you won't go up and over the ruler because of that nice safety feature. It goes right up against the ruler, keeps you safe, keeps you accurate unless you take the cutter off, which we know not to do, right? All of our rulers have that. Now the holes serve a purpose, right? What's that purpose of the holes?
Yeah, so they actually have a couple different purposes. One of them is actually so you can see through and see your fabric underneath. I know sometimes when people are going through and they're looking to cut, sometimes they're like, oh, I can't quite see my fabric, so that sometimes you don't quite make as straight of a cut because you can't see. And another thing that's great about that as well is they actually have the holes, so you're able to actually put your fingers through and just kind of hold down that fabric just to give it a little bit more stability. That's right.
And one thing that sticks out to me with our rulers, and has always been since day one, is how easy they are to read.
Yes.
Easy to read, it's not busy, and they are in 8-inch increments, so when you measure them, you have that nice measurement for any project. All right, so now we have our rulers, we have our cutter. The other thing in this package is our circle cutter. You mentioned earlier that doing circles is one that is not fun, maybe because the tool, right? It's not easy, but what makes this so unique?
I think actually one thing that makes it really unique is actually the ease of using it. Because how many of you have ever gone to use a bowl or a cup or something to try and cut a circle, or you're like, I don't know, I think I can kind of make this into a circle, right? So I don't know how many of you have done that. I know I've done it. I'm sure everyone's done it, right? So I think one thing that's just fantastic is that it's just so easy, and you can do 2 inches all the way up to 12 inches in circle size, which I think is huge. Because, you know, oh great, I found the perfect size with this cup to make 2 inches, but now I need to make a 12-inch circle, right? Like, what's going to be 12 inches? And so I think this is great because it allows you very easily to adjust the size and to not have to go and try to grab something to make a circle.
That's right. The other nice thing about this is the wide base.
Yes.
One of the other struggles we have when we cut circles is the fabric underneath will want to bunch up underneath, or it will slide on you or move. So with the wide base, it's nice because it keeps the fabric nice and flat as you go over. Even on this wrinkle part you see here, as I go over the top, it flattens it out. So this wide base allows the fabric to keep it down. It will not bunch it up or move. It also has a safety feature. Because this is where the blade is, and you press down to activate the blade, has a safety feature. So when we slide this over, now we're able to not have that blade get depressed. And so it is very safe, very accurate as well. If you're wanting to cut 5 inches, 4 inches, you can do so.
Easily.
Multiple layers is easy too. You can cut up to 3 layers of fabric with this. You can even do denim.
Yeah, I could do 2 layers of denim with it.
Now I'm going to go ahead and show you how to use this because I love doing the circle cuts because it's easy, and so when you have a product that works well, it's enjoyable.
Yes.
So I'm going to go ahead and cut. And right now I'm going to do about 6-inch circle. All right. All I'm going to say is be ready,
To
be amazed.
blown away.
That's right. You're going to love this, how simple this is. Now, I recommend crossing your hands to do the cutting. And the reason is if you cross your hand and put your strong hand on top of the blade, when you go all the way around, you make one clean circle. So I'm going to show that again. If you cross your hands and you go all the way around, you get one clean swoop around, okay? If you end up wanting to do it this way or do it straight in front of you, if you do come around, you will come to your other hand, which means you have to come back underneath and move it back around. So that's fine, but you may want to just check on that part where you come across that you don't get any tails. So let's go ahead and use this. I'm going to go ahead and press down the blade or the pin, press down on top of the blade and go all the way around. And now we have our circle. Very
Boom.
simple. Yeah, that's right. Boom. Very simple, very easy. And again, how many layers you can do with this is 3. So if you have a project, you can cut out multiple. Now you don't have to worry about, like you mentioned earlier, I may be doing circle cut and I don't really want to.
Yeah.
Now that you can, in this master cutting, you get the circle cut. The other nice little thing about this is if you want to cut on and off the fabric. So if I want to go ahead and go on the fabric and go back off it, you can. So you can get nice little different designs going on and off the fabric. And that is because of the wide base. This wide base keeps that fabric down. So a circle cutter, the best, the easiest, you'll love it. Now, we have our rulers we talked about. We have a circle cutter. Let's talk about the True Grips.
Yes. So these are our True Grips. I think they're fantastic. They're clear and it comes with 15 of 2 different sizes as well, which is big. So if you have a little bit of a bigger ruler, you put the bigger size on there, but if you want to, you also could use the smaller ones. So it's great for that. And another thing that's fantastic is it's adhesive. So if you can see on this ruler, it sticks really nicely to the plastic, but it won't come off on your mat. So I know that's another thing that I've heard happening before where they have something and they're like, oh great, and then they go to move it and boom, it rips off the thing that was holding your ruler down. So that's just a great thing about our awesome True Grips.
That's right. And if you're using your ruler to measure and you have something underneath your ruler to keep from sliding, but it's taking away your view of what you're doing, that could be annoying as well. So these True Grips are clear adhesive and has the 15 small and 15 large rings, and you can put that all throughout the ruler. So these 5 packs that you get with your master cutting collection here will finish all of your rulers that come in this plus more. You can have some at home that you want to go ahead and put them on. We've all had the struggles from cutting, right?
Yes.
The ruler aspect, going off, veering away, going up and over the ruler. Rulers that crack or break or are hard to read, line up. We have all those in our cutting, and so with the master cutting, if you get this, you're going to find that those are gone out the window.
Yeah, and actually one thing that Mark briefly mentioned is that sometimes your rulers will break or crack. And one reason we also kind of have these holes is because we actually inject the substance into a mold that allows this. And one thing that's great about that is that you actually can bend your ruler, right? How many of you out there can say you can do this to your ruler without it cracking or breaking, right? I don't know that I've ever seen any other ones that could do that. So
that's pretty dangerous. I'm like,
yeah.
No, normally if I would have saw that first, like I'm sure you did, like, no, don't. It's fine.
Yeah, so it's a fantastic thing. And another thing that I love about our rulers is they actually, as you can see here, they have a couple of spots specific for the True Grip. So it's a very easy, very obvious spot to put those. Another thing that I think is fantastic, because sometimes if you're looking to use the True Grips with your own ruler, is actually with the small ones, you can easily put it in between any of those. So it's really fantastic to have those already built in.
That's right. Perfect. I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of people ask, where do they go? They go on the back of any flat surface of the ruler. And what's nice about the leftovers of the adhesive is you can put it underneath something in your home that you don't want to slide. A lot of people use it under the foot pedal of their machine to keep from sliding as well. So just a little tidbit on that. Okay, last but not least, we're going to talk about our sharpener.
Yes.
Our
Now let me
sharpener.
just tell you really quick, I love this. And I'm not just saying that for me, I've had customers call in who have said that this is a game changer, right? Like, how many of you out there, because blades are expensive, have like a bucket or a bin that they just keep their blades in, right? Because it's like, it's a little too expensive to throw away, but I don't know what to do with them. I've had that happen before. And so I think this is great because it can bring some of those blades back.
That's right. And you hit it perfectly. Quilters, we kept our blades, and you have a stack of them. What's nice is that's money sitting right there, and blades are not cheap, right? They're pretty expensive. And when we cut with the dull blade, that can ruin your mat. You put a lot of pressure on your arm. So think about it. If we're doing a project and you have to get through this project, but your blade is dull, so you're just fighting through this project and you're continuing to use that same blade over and over again, what do you see happening to your arm, right? I can think of a couple things. One, I know when that happens, I see a lot of, they're getting in and they're using their shoulder now, or they're really digging in. Like I said, that can ruin your mat, and you're making your arm way more fatigued than it should be. So cutting with a sharp blade is the best, but at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night when we're cutting and the stores are not open for the blade, what else do you have? Well, if you have this sharpener and you've kept your blades, that is money, right, that you're ready to bring back. And like Laurel said, it will bring it back to a near factory sharp edge, and it will bring back most of the blades. So each blade is made differently, so you may get a different outcome with the blades, but for the most part, this is our number one item because it works. And earlier I mentioned that there were 2 key ingredients as to why this works. You know what those are, Laurel?
Yes. One of them that I think is crucial is actually, you can see here, these are our diamond grit stones, and it just works great to sharpen these blades.
That's right. So you are absolutely right. Those diamond stones, that is the reason why it works. Now think about it. If we sharpen any kind of steel or blade, for centuries we've used stones, a ceramic stone or a diamond stone or a wet stone. And so this wonderful sharpener has 2 diamond stones, one at the bottom, one at the top. It has a lever to pop the blade up, so it's very safe, and it comes with tweezers. So as we want to pull that blade out, we can. Now we can put it back in our cutter, and it does all 3 sizes. I'm going to show the inside of the sharpener. A lot of people ask, what size of blade does it sharpen, right? It does all 3 the main sizes, the 28, 45, and 60 millimeter. And in the bottom there, you see the grooves where they would sit. Laurel, I knew a lady who told me that she'd been using the same blade for several months. And that is big, and she had a stack of blades, but she sharpened the one blade, was able to use that for several months over and over again.
Yeah, and one thing that I actually love as well, there was actually a lady who happened to reach out, and I was lucky enough to get the call, and she actually was talking about how she, sometimes she has a little bit trickier time falling asleep, so she stays up and she does cutting, right? So she does cutting, clear into the night, clear into the morning, so of course the shops aren't open. And so what she was able to find though is that with this, she was able to keep cutting the whole time, right? Instead of trying to sit there, like we pointed out earlier, trying to get your shoulder over and dig in, you know, it's really easy. And you're like, oh, you know what? Let me just take just a couple seconds here, take my blade out, sharpen it, boom. You're gonna go back very easily, being able to go to cutting again.
It absolutely works. Again, all 3 sizes. It uses the diamond stones. Read the instructions. The instructions tell you how to do it. Very simple, very easy. You can't go wrong, but that's our electric sharpener. So part of the package with the electric sharpener, you're gonna have sharp blades, you're gonna have these rulers to finish any project, and you have that track and guide system. And that to me is the number one thing about this, is that track and guide to keep you cutting safe and accurate. I don't know about you, but that to me is the game changer.
Yeah, I don't know how many, like I know we mentioned this earlier, but how many people have nicked themselves or been a little bit cautious, you know, or really worried and haven't done as much cutting because they're worried they're going to nick themselves, or if they keep veering off, they're like, oh, I'm so tired, I keep veering off, right? So with this, it really eliminates that. And one thing that I also love to point out is, it was a while back, but we did a survey actually that we had sent out, and we asked quilters, what are some problems or what are some issues that you've run into when cutting? And so we actually took that feedback and we found a solution for that, right? So no more veering off, no more nicking yourself, no more having to cut with a dull blade, even if it's at like that 3 a.m. session, right? No worries, very easy. You don't have to cut yourself when changing out the blade. You have a really easy, quick release, and you don't have to worry about your ruler sliding. So really, we took really what we could from you guys and really helped make a great experience for you to really get back to what you love doing, which is quilting.
That's right. This is a fantastic package, Master Cutting Collection. Again, the square rulers, the rectangle rulers, the sharpener, the circle cutter, the straight cutter with the guide. So don't leave that out. That's important. With the guide. Very useful, very fun. It's been awesome. I love sharing this stuff. And again, if you're watching this and you ask yourself, oh, I have those issues they talked about, or I need more rulers and I want those true grips to keep all my rulers from keeping or staying in place, this is a package for you. So thank you for watching, and please continue to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. That's right. So thank you again for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you so much, everybody, for staying with us as we go through some of those fun educational sections. And I know, thank you, Roswitha, for being with us here as well. We're really excited for this segment. This is going to be some live giveaways, so get your typing fingers ready, And then we're also going to be doing some Q&A. So, Jana, I know you were kind of, and I think, Roswitha, you were going through and maybe watching some of the comments that came in. Was there any questions that maybe come in that we can help answer?
Yeah, so one question that people had asked in the segment with Karla in the It's So Easy pattern was, how do they get the Christmas quilt pattern that was behind her? Even though it wasn't part of the segment, I think it really did pull out a lot of people excited for that. So if you are interested in that quilt, all you need to do is email Karla at graceframe.com, and Karla will be able to get you that pattern.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's great. I know that was one. And yeah, I think even for myself, I'm like, every time I see it, I'm like, oh, it's just beautiful. And
it's such a cute quilt.
I love it every time. So that's wonderful. And then, Roswitha, did you see any questions that may have come in during any of these segments that we went through? Yeah, and then let's see. Can you just make sure there, Roswitha, because I think we can't quite hear you there. So if you'll just make sure that you're unmuted.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Sorry about that. Yeah, there was a question about cutting felt with the circle cutter, but I think somebody answered it already, that you can only cut one layer of felt.
Yeah, so since it's similar, yeah, you're right. Since it's similar to denim in the thickness, only one layer of the wool felt would be able to be cut with the circle cutter. But you can do multiple layers with if you're doing regular fabric.
Yeah. Wonderful. And then I know one question, I don't think it came in, but I think it's a question that people tend to get, and we're going to have a bit of a segment later that Janet and Mark are going to go over how to choose the right frame for you. But I know with the Cutie frame, oftentimes there's the question of, hey, can my domestic machine fit on it? And that really is a fantastic question. And Janet, why don't you go ahead and tell them kind of maybe what kind of machine can they put on that Cutie frame?
Yeah, so the Cutie is really versatile. We call it the gateway to quilting because it's kind of like the first step, right? So you can use your domestic frame or machine as long as that machine, the smallest part is 11.5 inches or smaller. Now there are some embroidery machines that have a little bit bigger base, and that's okay. That 11.5 inches is where the clamps fit in and out. So you can remove the clamps and then have a little bit wider base. So there's some I think there's some Brother machines that have a wider base at the back. So if you need to remove those clamps, but the size with the clamps is 11.5. If you take the clamps out, they're 12 inches. And then the width for your frame, you can go up to a 19-inch throat. Now we recommend nothing less than 9 inches in your machine because you're just going to get frustrated, right? You're going to lose 2.5 inches for the rails. And so then that gives you about 6.5 inches for quilting. So if you do less than 9, then you can just keep doing that math of 2.5 inches less. And so pretty soon, if you get too small of a machine, then you're just doing lines back and forth as you go and having to move the quilt. But you can use the Unique 15R and 15 Pro on that machine, as well as the Unique 19, which is amazing. People are always shocked that you can use such a big machine on that frame.
Yeah, and I know when you're talking about it, is the throat space is from the back of the needle to the main body of the machine, so where you could pretty much, in a sense, stick your arm through. And then Jenna had mentioned that you do lose a couple inches because you actually put part of the bar through that throat space in order to have a surface to set your fabric on. So that's again why we typically recommend at least 9 inches. But of course, it is something that Jenna said it's kind of a gateway into it, and it can always grow with you. That's why you can put a 15-inch machine on there, or throat space machine, and even up to a 19-inch throat space machine. So.
Yeah. So it's great to get started, and even if, like, I love hearing people talk about the Cutie and all the places that they quilt with it.
Yes.
So for instance, we had one person here in the States who wanted to quilt, but she and her husband are truckers, and she decided to take the Cutie with them. So when they stop at any stop, then she puts the Cutie out and she quilts, and then she's taking orders from truckers and people that she meets as she goes along.
Yeah, and that's really fun. I think that's crazy. And, we talk about the versatility of the Cutie frame, like, oh, yeah, sure. But that really is a prime example of how you can take it anywhere with you. So that's wonderful. And then I know if you guys had any other questions, go ahead and feel free to put them in. But we're actually kind of going to move into this next fun segment that I'm sure we all love to do. But we're going to do some live giveaways. Woo!
Oh, wow.
So get your fingers. Get your fingers warmed up. And then just kind of before we get into the question we're going to ask, and then, the winners we're going to choose, and let me just pull it up here, is you're going to want to make sure you reach out to, here it is, it's mail@knowhowsewing.com.au, and this will reach out to Roswitha, and you'll want to make sure to save this email, take it down, because if you do a live giveaway, we need you to reach out to us so we can make sure to get your correct address and to get you your prize. Awesome. So again, just make sure that's there. But let's go ahead and kind of get into it. So Jana, what is it that we're going to be giving away for this live segment?
Well, one of the things that was talked about in the last segment was our Truecut products, and especially our Truecut True Sharp 2 sharpener, electric sharpener. Roswitha, have you had a chance to use the sharpener at all?
Not much, but Hans has, and he demonstrates it out at every show he goes. And yes, it's a great product, and can save you some money in the long run.
I think it's really great that, it just furthers your cutting skills, and Laurel and Mark were saying that, people can't run to the store all the time, and sometimes you're living in an area where the store is far away. Mm-hmm. So this gives you an opportunity to sharpen those blades ahead of time.
And then I know in the video I had mentioned a story about someone who is up usually late quilting, right? So even if a store is closed, it might not be open. So this is a great way to do it. So for this, we're actually going to choose 2 different winners. We're going to choose someone from watching on YouTube and someone for watching on Facebook. So get your fingers warmed up.
3, because we're going to do it from the Grace platform as well.
There you go.
So we're going to do three winners.
There you go. So now you have even more of a chance to win. So get those fingers warmed up. And the question is that we're going to ask for a chance to win this. I'm going to put your answer as quickly as you can down in the comment section. We will give everyone a minute and an opportunity to submit an answer. But the question is what are the stones made of that are in the sharpener?
Yeah, so that was talked about in the segment with Mark and Laurel. They talked about the stones that they previously had, but this is what the stones currently are.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, there's something new that we've done it. Oh, I see a couple of some of the answers coming in. Again, we'll give everyone just a minute to be able to go through here. Perfect. Yep, everyone's getting it. Again, we'll give everyone just one more minute. But yeah, you guys got it. We need to think of a hard question next time.
I know.
Wonderful. All right, again, so we're going to go ahead and choose 3 different winners. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to choose somebody really quickly from the YouTube channel. So again, if you haven't quickly put your comment in there, let's go ahead and we're going to do a little drum roll. And again, we're going to choose the winner from YouTube right now. So here we go. Wonderful. So Donna.
Congratulations, Donna.
Diamond stones. Congratulations.
That's the correct answer. They're diamond grit stones. They last for the lifetime of the sharpener, so you don't have to change them out. As long as the sharpener works, they'll work for you.
Yeah, wonderful. So again, Donna, wonderful. Just really quickly, make sure, again, write this email down, because again, for these winners, we need you guys to make sure to reach out to us so we can get that address for you. So again, it's up there on that screen. It's mail@knowhowsewing.com.au. So make sure to take that down. We're going to go ahead and choose another winner. Again, we chose from the YouTube, so now we're going to do Facebook.
Yay,
and then we'll
Facebook.
do that Grace platform. So from from Facebook here, let's go ahead and see. Okay, there we go. Debbie Turnbull.
Congratulations, Debbie.
Yes, wonderful. Again, it was the Diamond Gritstone, so congrats on that. And then as we're choosing the final winner here, just another quick reminder that this is the email you're going to want to reach out to. But let's go ahead and do a drum roll for the winner of the Grace platform.
And Stan Stankowski is the winner from the Grace website.
Wonderful. So congratulations, Stan. Again, make sure to take down that email. It's mail@knowhowsewing.com.au. So make sure to take a look at that. And then you know what? I want to see again if there's any other questions that you may have, because we're going to kind of go into this next segment where we're going to go about the fall gingham picnic basket. And then we'll go into the next segment that Jana and Mark, our manager here on the sales team, about how to choose the right frame for you. And so I would say we will have a little bit of some time at the very end of this wonderful live stream that we're doing today. So if you have questions on that segment, we can ask it then. But I'd say if you have any questions now, or if you've been looking at, hey, what frame do I want to get? Or even I'll throw this out there, if you're looking at what machine, again, go ahead and put those questions you may have had in that comment section. And then I know as we wait for those to come in, but Jana, I don't know, because you did the segment on choosing a frame, what would you say, just because again, give a little snapshot, we don't give too much away, but what's one thing that people typically, or a common question people ask when choosing a frame?
Well, the number one question that people always ask is, how much space do I have, or how much space do I need? And we'll go over that. We'll talk about what you consider for space, everybody would love to have, right, like the huge 12-foot and lots of space and everything, but yeah, it's like, is that right for you? Because sometimes you might have the space, and is that right? Sometimes the Cutie is exactly what you need, and so we'll go over all the different frames that we have. We have the Cutie, the Q-Zone Hoop, the Q-Zone Queen, and the Continuum Frame. So we're going to go through all of them, so don't worry, all of them will be talked about.
Yeah, wonderful. And then I know we still have some time, and so kind of what I want to do, because we are going to be choosing a final winner in the last live segment of the day that'll be pulled from those that have pre-registered. But since this is a live segment, I want to go ahead and we're going to do another giveaway of this TrueSharp 2 Sharpener.
Excellent.
Yeah, so we're going to go ahead, again, get your fingers warmed up. If you didn't do it before, now's your chance. And then make sure to stay tuned as well, because we do have another segment tomorrow where we'll be doing live, and we'll be doing giveaways as well then. So even if you don't win today, you'll still have an opportunity to. And then I do really quickly want to bring up one more time that this is going to be that email you're going to want to take down. And I'm going to say this, even if you haven't quite won, take down this email address, because you might just be the next winner here. So again, one more time, it's mail@knowhowsewing.com.au. So make sure to take that down, but let's go ahead and look at getting into this next segment here, or the next question that we have. So yeah, so let's see actually, so Russell, do you maybe have a question for those watching, a question or maybe something that we talked about in a previous segment on the education, or honestly almost any question you want, and we'll see if, people's answers come in. Can you hear us okay, Roswitha?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay.
I asked a question.
Yeah, if you have one.
So either from the segments or about the TrueSharp 2,
Yeah.
or anything, yeah. And then they can answer it, and we'll pick our winners.
It's actually a question regarding the pencil cutter or any Truecut cutter. Do you need to have a separate cutter for a left-handed person?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, yeah, so that's wonderful. So again, just to repeat that question was, when using the cutter, do you have to have a separate cutter if you're left-handed? So that's a really good question. I don't know that we necessarily talked about that in the last one, but if you've ever seen Truecut before.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I missed that part.
Don't remember that one.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Again, we'll go ahead. Oh, look, answers are already coming in quick. Wonderful. Yeah, you see, we got some harder questions because you guys are just on it.
So while we're waiting for a couple more questions to come in, Roswitha, do you have a favorite frame that we have here at the Grace Company?
The Continuum Frame.
Yeah?
Just because you roll it on, like the quilt, you roll it on. You don't have to baste it. you put it straight onto the frame and you baste as you go. But if you don't have the room, the Cutie frame is quite
Yeah.
handy to have, and if you don't have a long arm. So
Yeah.
yes, between the two, Continuum and Cutie frame.
Yeah, I like, we had one person who was looking at the Cutie, and I said, oh, have you heard of the Cutie frame? And she said, well, I already have a long arm and I have a Continuum. I don't need the Cutie. And I said, well, does your Continuum travel with you? And then she went, oh, no, it doesn't travel with me. And so she ended up purchasing it so she could go to her guild meetings and so she could do it both places. Yeah, so that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, there really is. And I know in that segment, Jan and Mark will go a little bit more into, again, how you can choose that right frame for you. So make sure, again, to stay tuned for that. That will be coming up here in just a bit. But let's go ahead and go back again to the question. So just one more time, if you're just joining us now, the question was, with our cutters, if you're left-handed, do you have to have a separate cutter in order to use it? So I think that's a great question. And again, we're going to go ahead and choose 3 different winners, one from YouTube, Facebook, and then from our Grace platform. We're going to go ahead and do a quick drum roll, and we'll choose Facebook first here. So here we go. Tony Taylor, so no is the correct answer. You do not need to have a separate cutter.
Great question, Roswitha, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic question. I guess I wouldn't have known it, so that's woo! Wonderful. So again, congrats, Tony Taylor. Really quickly, before we pull up that next winner, just make sure, again, to take down this email address, as this is something that you'll need to be sure to reach out to Roswitha with, so we can make sure to get you your prize. But congratulations, we're going to go ahead and we're going to choose a winner from YouTube here now. Oh, here we go. So Bambi Burris works for left or right-handed people. That's wonderful.
Congratulations.
Again, congratulations, Bambi. And then we're going to go ahead and choose one final winner, and it's going to be from our Grace platform.
And that is Yvette. Congratulations, Yvette.
Congrats. Wonderful. Again, the answer is no. Works with left or right-handed. And if you missed that or are curious on how to do it, you will be able to go back through and rewatch these segments. And I think just a couple days or so. So give us just a bit, but you will be able to go back through and rewatch them. And then one final reminder, kind of as we start to move into this wonderful next sections that we have, is make sure if you win these lives, and again, even if you're going to tune in tomorrow for these live segments, take down this email address, because then that way you can have it and you can be ready and reach out right away so we get you your prize as quick as possible. So again, that email is mail@knowhowsewing.com.au. So
yeah, and so if it happens, because we don't know where you are, but if any of you happen to be in the U.S. or in Australia, so they will, Roswitha will take care of getting the Australia group theirs, and then she'll let us know so we can get the U.S. one sent out.
Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you everyone for staying with us and for joining in on some of those fun educational pieces and for this fun live segment. We're going to go ahead and we're going to move right into kind of the remainder of the last hour of this day here, about hour or so. It's again, we're going to go through and we're going to do the fall gingham picnic basket quilt demonstration. And then just following that, we're going to go into the how to choose the right frame for you. And that was, again, the one that we briefly talked about that Jana and Mark are a part of. And then we also have Jackson's Trunk Show.
I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this. I haven't seen that segment, so I'm really excited to be able to tune in for that one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know. And then I know, Roswitha, you'd mentioned you've talked with Jackson, and so I've seen a little bit of some of his work, but I'm sure you've seen a little bit more of his work.
Exactly. I haven't seen the trunk show, so I'm looking forward
Oh,
to it.
great.
Oh, good. Yeah. Wonderful. So we're all excited about that. And then just following that, we'll come back on and kind of just close this out for the day, but we will also be announcing the winner, or the final winner of those that have pre-registered for today. And again, we are going to be doing this tomorrow, so if you have not registered, it is free. And if you do so, you still have a chance to win, because we actually just choose the winners the day of the event. So you still have a chance. So again, be sure to register, and it is free. But we're going to go ahead and go right into, again, it's that fall gingham picnic basket quilt demonstration.
Hello and welcome to the Grace Company. My name is Janessa, and today I'm going to be going over some tips and tricks for a very beginner 9-patch quilt. If you are an expert quilter here, hopefully you can still gain something, and I would love it if in the comment section you guys can add your own personal tips and tricks for beginner quilters like myself. So today we're going to be doing a really simple gingham 9-patch kind of picnic blanket. A traditional gingham patch blanket, you would pick colors that are the same color but different tones. I went a little bit of a different route just because these are two colors that I really enjoy. They're still in the same color family, So you get like a similar effect, but not quite the same. So I've got a coral here, maroon, and then kind of like a beige white. So when I went through and was cutting these, I did it in like a strip piecing type of pattern. It makes it so it goes a lot more quickly. And again, for a really beginner quilter, it just is a really easy way to get through them quickly and make less mistakes. So I love our Truecut system. The reason why I love it so much is because usually when I'm cutting, I would have to like recut it 10 different times because I was swirling all over the place, my cuts weren't even, and it made it so the piecing portion of my quilting was really, really difficult. I love the Truecut system because we have the true grips that latch onto the bottom and keep it from moving around. And then with our cutters, they have this really great, what is this called? Track system, sorry, that latches on and can go across your cutting and your quilting. Again, just making that process really, really nice and easy. I personally have the really large mat with the grip underneath it, which again, everything you can do to create that traction so that you're not going to be slipping all over the place is going to make your cutting come out a lot more even. Some of the tips and tricks that I got from some of the ladies in regards to cutting, I love this one, don't run with scissors. I totally agree with that. A lot of times with my students, we would teach that, and it's just as accurate now. Another one is to always make sure that you put the safety on your rotary cutter. I'm sure people have some horror stories of things that have happened to them when they don't remember that tips and trick. The other one is make sure that you measure and calculate several times before doing your actual cutting. Again, we don't want to waste our beautiful fabric, so make sure that you're double and triple checking to make sure that you get that cut just right. And the last one is make sure that you're keeping your rotary blade sharp. Again, here at Grace, we have two different options for keeping those blades sharp, and it's super important, again, to make those cuts nice and straight, and so that you don't have to go over it more than once. It'll make that process a lot easier. When I began piecing my fabric together, I took my strips of colors and sewed them together using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, which is really the standard for the most part in the piecing world that I found. So I sewed them together with that 1/4 inch, and then I would take my next color and sew together, and by the end I had a whole long strip looking quilt. And then I took my Truecut system again and cut those pieces so that it looked something like this. Again, not a super traditional 9-patch piecing together. It doesn't have the sashing or anything like that. But again, it's a quick and easy pattern for a beginner. Some of the great tips and tricks that I got from some of the people that I talked to was pin as much as you need. There isn't really like a standard, it's whatever you need and what works for you. Another one is doing an accurate 1/4 seam allowance makes your piecing so much easier. I found that with my machine, I actually put a little sticky note to help me guide it through and make sure that I kept on track with that 1/4 seam allowance. It's not perfect, but it did help me quite a bit. Another one was prepare 10 bobbins of thread before you start. There's nothing more frustrating when you're on a roll and all of a sudden you have to stop and fill more bobbins. So I love that tip and trick. And the other one is don't quilt when you're tired. It leads to a seam ripper. And I can attest to that. I was like, oh, I just need to get this done. And I was exhausted and was making all of these mistakes. And I was like, what is happening? And I think a lot of that could have been avoided if I would have just held off and came back the next morning and would have avoided a lot of those mistakes. The other tip is make sure that you press and don't iron. A lot of times we're used to ironing like this, right, when we're doing shirts and stuff like that. With our quilts, we want to actually make sure that we're pressing just like this. We take our iron, and this one hasn't been pressed, as you can see. And the other tip and trick is always press towards the darker color. And I think a lot of times in patterns, there's different, it'll kind of give you instructions on where to press, but for the most part, going towards that darker fabric is really helpful. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the quilting portion of this project. For this particular one, I decided to do automation instead of free motion. Since I am a beginner and I'm still working on my free motion skills and my ruler work skills, I wanted to do something that I felt confident in and I knew was going to end in a nice professional look while I'm still working on those free motion skills. So we're going to go ahead and do a pantograph edge-to-edge design in the Quilter's Creative Touch. So we've got our software all loaded up and we're going to open up the pantograph. So the first thing we need to do is set our safe area. So I'm going to move over here to the top left corner and select that. And then it's guiding me to go to the bottom right. Okay, and now we have our settings here that we can go ahead and input our information. So before I put the quilt onto our frame, I made sure to measure it. So I'm going to put my measurements in for our total width and our total height. So my total width is 44.5, and then my total height is 53.5. Okay, so this here is showing the entire quilt and what our design is going to look like on that quilt. So we're going to open up our pattern and I have it saved here and I'm doing kind of like a rainbow fan design. And right here, this is showing a lot of that design. And I, on this particular quilt, want the design to be a little bit bigger. A lot of times if you're using a design where it's edge to edge and it is kind of straight across, if your quilt is not perfectly aligned on the frame, it can cause some serious issues. It might look kind of wonky over here. So kind of stretching out that design will help pull away from some of those things that you don't really want to see there. So I'm going to make the pattern height just a little bit larger. Let's see. I think that looks pretty good. And it's moving up and off the quilt, which is kind of the look that I'm going for. So I'm going to place in zones because I'm going to be going through all the zones of this quilt. And this is going to help me place my first zone of the quilt. So during this first portion, it is just going to quilt those two patterns here, and I placed a sticker right here in the middle to mark the center of my quilt. This will help me as I move along through the different zones to make sure that I'm finding my center each and every single time. So I'm going to place my center point right there and do a single stitch. Okay, and then I'm going to move over to this green starting point over here and just find as close to it as I can. I'm going to guess it's somewhere right around there. And then we'll go ahead and click sew. And it moved up because I am sewing off the quilt, so I wasn't quite in the right area, but that's all right. And so instead of you having to watch this, do this entire edge-to-edge design, we'll take a brief break and then come back when that portion's finished. All right, and we're back. It just finished up the first zone of our across the edge pantograph, and I don't know about you guys, I'm loving it so far. It's this really nice kind of like rainbow fan design. I did a double batting, and I did that so it was a little bit more fluffy and really showed and accentuated that design. So I'm loving it so far. We're going to move on to the next zone. So the really nice thing about this software is it really does kind of help walk you through the steps so you don't forget anything. So we're going to click finished zone because we just finished that first zone. Okay, so have you completed sewing this zone? So pulling the bobbin thread, making any repairs. So yes, we did all of that so far. So I'm going to click yes, and then it is going to move over to the next center starting point for me. So make sure it's really nice and exact. So we'll let it make its way over there. Okay, so there are a couple different marking methods you can use. I personally like to use a sticker method. So I'm going to slip, if I can, slip this sticker right underneath here. And then I'm going to do a single stitch. Okay, and then I'm going to click continue. So are you sure all of the zone markers have been properly placed? So yes, I have properly placed that sticker there and that single stitch. So the machine will now move to where the fabric marker should be for the next zone. So I'm going to click OK, and the machine again is going to move and tell me exactly where it wants me to roll my quilt to get ready for the next zone. Okay, so now we'll take a brief break while I move our quilt to the next zone. Okay, so we're back. I just finished rolling our quilt, and you can see I've moved the needle right to where that sticker was that I placed before I rolled. So that's helping us keep it really nice and exact. So then I'm going to click OK. Have you moved the fabric? Click OK, since yes, we have. Awesome. So now it's placing that pattern. I'm going to go ahead and do my single stitch there. Okay, and then I'm going to place that pattern. So that's right where it is. I just click that. And then it's going to have me move it over to my green starting point, which is going to be somewhere over in this vicinity. And I'll click sew. And we'll go ahead and let it do that next portion. All right, so that brings us to the completion of our second zone. And obviously there's quite a few more zones to go. I'll do that when you guys aren't here watching. But I really do like how this design and this pattern, even though it is really simple and is a really beginner quilt, I still made something that I think is really beautiful and something that I'm really proud of. Some of the really great tips and tricks that a lot of the quilters gave were not listening to the quilt police, and to remember that it gets easier and you get better and you learn something new every single day. For example, something that I learned, I got really excited to move on to the next zone and I didn't tack down my quilt. So another rookie mistake, and again, just things that I'm kind of adding to my archive of knowledge to kind of help me grow and get better and progress. So hopefully you guys, as you continue to watch these Grace videos, you will see those improvements in me, and you can hopefully learn something from that as well. So a few other things that I've learned from some of the master quilters that I know is to always wear shoes in your sewing room. I love that one. And then another one is that there's no such thing as mistakes. If you happen to go off pattern, go with it and call it something else. So even though this isn't quite a traditional 9-patch, even though there are some mistakes, there are little issues here and there, just love it and love the process. I've caught myself a lot of times as I've been working on this project and other projects that I've been doing is being really, really hard on myself. And as someone who is kind of a perfectionist and wants things to be just right in just a specific way, I have to catch myself and go back and just remind myself to really just enjoy it, enjoy this hobby, learn all that I can, and again, just take in everything that I can from all of the people around me who are really strong. That is the beauty of the quilting community, is everyone is so willing to help and share and learn from each other. So again, if you are a master quilter, or if you have another piece of advice that you want to add in the comments that you think that could help me or another beginner quilter out there, please share that. We'd love to add to that list. So yeah, please, if you have any questions, please leave a comment below, and then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also follow our Instagram and visit us at graceframe.com or contact your local dealer. I'm Janessa, and thanks again for joining us at the Grace Company.
Thanks for joining us today. We are both so excited to talk about frames and how to choose the best frame and the correct frame for you. My name is Mark.
I'm Jana.
And we have a lot of stuff to talk about. We have several frames we want to talk about, and the reason why we're talking about frames, Jana, is we want to make sure you choose the right frame for you, because there are a lot of questions that you should be thinking about before buying a frame. We don't want to have the impulse buy, right? Impulse buy can lead you to another purchase. We want to make sure that you have a checklist, and we'll go over some of these questions before we choose a frame. But Jana, let's look at some of the questions that you may consider before purchasing a frame.
Now, one thing I always talk to people about to think about, number one, is your space. What kind of space do you have? Do you have a large room, a small room, dedicated space, or is it just going to be on the side? So that's number one mark that I always ask people, what space do you have? Second, your budget. How much are you going to spend on this frame and other accessories? Because that can be a huge thing for you of how much money you've got and where you're taking it.
What's nice about the Grace frames is you can put your own machine on the frame all the way up to our large 21-inch machines.
Yeah.
If you haven't thought about a checklist, do so, because that is really, really huge on making sure that the right frame is being purchased. In this segment, we're going to talk about several frames we have in front of us. We have a Cutie frame and our hoop frame, and behind us we have a couple rolling rail frames, our Queen and our King frame. And these frames, they can do a lot of different things. Some frames can do only certain sizes of quilts, right?
That's one thing to consider. Also, how you're going to be doing quilting, right? We've got the frames in front of us. Mark mentioned the Q zone. Are you going to be doing quilting in zones and not all at once? So that's something to consider as well.
That's right. Jana, the other day you were telling me an experience you had with a customer who bought the frame and wasn't really working out. Maybe if she asked maybe some of the questions, she could have just bought the right frame first and not need to buy a second frame. So what other stories do we know of that people have talked to us and we have these experiences?
Yeah, one person, the one that Mark's referring to, she had gotten a Q zone frame, but she'd never quilted with a zone before. And she realized that really wasn't the quilting type of quilting she wanted to do. It was a little bit more confusing for her. It can work out for a lot of other people though. Another thing to consider is if you're getting a large frame, if it's the exact same size of the room that you're doing, if it's 12 feet, it's exactly 12 feet, you're not going to be able to get around the back of that frame either. So that's something to consider when you're thinking about size.
That's really big. My wife, she has a 10-foot frame in our room, and it's wall to wall. So if she wants to go behind it to do any pantograph work or any kind of tracing on the back, she has to crawl underneath the frame just to get behind there. So yeah, if it fits exactly in your room, and that's fine. If it fits in your room perfect, and that's okay. You may not want to go behind your frame. That's totally fine. But consider one of the questions is, do I want to work behind my frame? If so, you want to have some clearance behind or around the wall so you can get behind the frame. So there are questions to be asked. Again, get out your checklist. Size, space, what machine am I looking to use, cost, dedicated.
That's true.
Do I want to travel with it? You can actually travel with one of our frames, which makes it really nice. That makes it
very nice,
right?
Yeah.
The Cutie frame is one that's been very, very popular. It's popular with so many reasons. One of the reasons is you don't have a dedicated space. You don't need a dedicated space. How does this Cutie frame is set up in the home? What do you need to get this Cutie frame into your room?
You need a flat surface. That sounds pretty easy. I've talked to some people who said, well, my flat surface in my home is my coffee table. So that's where they set up their Cutie when they're quilting. And that's the nice thing about the Cutie is it's not having to be there all the time.
So the Cutie is 4 feet and it adjusts.
Adjusts at the top.
Yep, adjusts at the top. So you need at least 4 foot in length and anywhere from 27 to about 33 inches for the bottom, so for the bottom to sit on a table. If you have one of those in your room, perfect, you're ready to go. The Cutie frame is yours. With the Cutie frame, you can use your own domestic machine on there, all the way up to a 19 machine, and we'll show you how it adjusts. But as we look at the Cutie frame, as you can see in front of us, the Cutie frame is on this folding table. It's not one of those special tables. It's just one of those tables you can either get at Costco or at your local store that has these folding tables. And so as we look at the Cutie frame, there are a couple of things that I want to point out. One thing that I want to look at is sacrificing. When we look at the Cutie frame, there are some things when you're considering a frame that you don't want to give up.
Yeah.
Right? Ratchets. Ratchets is one that on a rolling rail frame keeps your fabric all nice and taut, and you don't want to give that up. Size of quilt. What if I want to do a king size quilt? Can I do one on this frame, Jana?
Yes, you can do any size quilt on this frame. That's the beauty of the Cutie.
That is so fantastic because it is only 4 feet, and I can do a king-size quilt. So if you have space for a cutting table in your sewing room, this Cutie frame can go right on top of your cutting table. This Cutie frame has square tubing, and the reason why it has square tubing is for our blue clips that have ridges. And so I'm going to get a nice close-up look on these ridges. And as you can see, those ridges go around the square tubing. So that is your ratcheting system. That is perfect. It is simple. It is easy. This clips right onto the rail.
And it clips on the front. It has that ratchet system on the front and sides.
That's right. So the sides has all over. And we need them on all 4 sides because it is a frame that your fabric can drape over the sides. We need to make sure that all 4 sides of this rail has those ratchet systems. So now your fabric can be nice and taut. Now with this frame, you need to have a top plate for your machine. So this actually comes with a nice top plate. And this top plate, this is where your domestic machine will sit. So one of the questions that we mentioned earlier is, what machine am I looking to use? And if you have a machine that you already own, that you feel comfortable with, that you like, you can put that machine right onto this top plate, and now you're using your own machine on this Cutie. And Jana, there are so many stories that we know of that people using their own machine on this frame. Why is that so awesome that they can get a Cutie frame using their own machine? What does that do to their level of confidence?
Well, number one, you no longer have to send your quilt tops out to get quilted, right? You're doing it in your home. Number two, the Cutie fits almost anywhere that there's a flat surface, so you're not only limited to what you can do in a larger space. And three, it travels really well. Mark was mentioning to me the other day, someone was talking about putting it out on their patio and quilting outside.
What are some of the struggles if you're doing a large quilt on a sit-down table?
Number one, if it's large quilts like a king, I'm wrestling the quilt constantly. It's going over my shoulder, it's hanging off of the side, because I've got to move it underneath the machine.
That's right.
But with a Cutie, your machine moves on top of the quilt.
That's right. But there's a couple other things I want to show you on this frame that's pretty unique to the Cutie. One is, when you have your own machine on and you want to use that same machine for piecing, you need to take the machine on and off the frame. Where the Cutie makes that very simple. There are no tools needed to remove this bar that goes through the throat of your machine. So let's go ahead and show this as we look at it. So go ahead and get that side, and I'll grab this side. You can see right at the top here, all we're doing is sliding this piece off the top, and that allows us now to take this rail out. How simple is that? Super simple, very nice, and there's no tools needed. That is just crazy, Jenna, that you can just take your machine on and off this frame as simple as that. So that's another nice feature, and it's very simple to put right back on. Now, earlier we talked about machines. You can start out with your domestic machine on the Cutie frame.
Yeah, because you have the carriage.
You have the carriage.
And it can hold an 11.5-inch base. Yep. So just think about that. And a throat up to 19 inches.
Now let's adjust the front rail here to show how easy it is to adjust for 19 inches. We simply just move this lever up, and now you can pull this side out, right? And so this side can come out, and you can see now we can go as far as we want to fit 19 inches. And so that space, that is huge. Now let's look at the other part of the carriage system. This is the bottom part of the carriage. It uses the same ball bearing wheels as our larger frames do, but they're just so cute and so tiny. I'm going to flip this over and just show at the back side here how nice those are. So these are the ball bearing wheels that go on the carriage, because we want to make sure that the carriage runs smooth, right? Smooth.
Nobody wants any skips in their quilts.
That's right. Let's go ahead and put that back on. All right. If you're going down your checklist and space is an issue, and that's why you have a sit-down table, consider the Cutie frame. Let's show them how easy it is to put the fabric on the Cutie frame. So let's go ahead and take these off. It's a very simple process. One person can do this. All right. So let's go ahead and put this on front. Okay. Go ahead and pull that side. We'll do a long ways here. So here is the fabric. So what we're doing is we're draping over the entire 4 sides. This is what we call hooping the fabric or zoning the fabric. So you can see on the far side it's draped over, and on this side. So it's really very similar to embroidery systems. So if you're familiar with embroidery systems, it's really no different. You have your fabric quilt clipped down, and we can adjust it. So you can hang it over the side.
And it doesn't matter how much it hangs over to the side.
It doesn't. Yeah. You can do a king, you can do a California king, a table runner. It doesn't matter the size. All that matters is you want it nice and taut, right?
Right.
So we already have the fabric on, so let's go ahead and put the clips on there now.
And we're starting with the back first.
All right, and we'll go ahead and put the front ones on. You want to give me yours.
And this is where you see that ratchet system in action.
That's right. And we'll get the side. Put it right. Okay. So that is now the fabric attached. So we can see that it hangs over the side. And with the handlebars, that goes out front. And so with it hanging, I'm going to go ahead and put the handlebars right back on. Grab the back end there. Okay, so with it being in front, we need to access those handlebars, and so we don't want those covered. So we design on the frame to be able to roll it up and keep it all nice and looking good. So let's go ahead and roll this back side up. And again, I just can't stress how simple and how fun this is. And fun may be a weird word, but when you're doing your large quilts, and you have the right tools, absolutely it can be fun, right? You're enjoying what you're doing, and then doing this process is not long. It doesn't take any time, really.
And you're getting much more quilts done than you could in the past.
That's right. Okay, now let's go ahead and do the front here. And we're going to just go ahead and roll this up. These bungees come with the frame. They're attached. And it just makes it really simple to attach around. Okay. So there we go. That could be your king size quilt. If you're doing a king size quilt, look how simple and easy it is. And this is just on a table. So you have your own machine on the Cutie on the table.
The other thing I like about this, Mark, is rolling it up on the back. I'm rolling it up itself, not on the rail. So I'm not losing any space for my throat like I would if it was rolled up on the rail.
And that's a good thing to consider, because if you are using the Cutie with your own machine, and your own machine has a 9-inch throat, well, we all know how much throat space can be left with a large quilt on a rolling rail frame, right? You can lose that throat space. With a Cutie, you won't lose that throat space, because like you mentioned, Jana, this is a soft roll that's on top of the fabric. And so you have that full mobility of your 9-inch machine. So Cutie frame, again, if you're looking to move away from your sit down or a dedicated space that you want to be able to have it for a Cutie, you have it on your flat, any flat surface, the Cutie is the way to go. The Q-Zone hoop frame is similar to the Cutie frame. However, this has legs.
It has legs, and it's a little bit larger. Where you had only 4 feet with the Cutie, you now have 4.5 feet with the Q-Zone hoop.
That's right. So it's a little larger, and you have legs. So you now have a little dedicated spot for the hoop. Again, you can do large quilts, king, queen, or smaller on the hoop frame. Now on this hoop frame, we have a couple versions of this hoop frame. This right here is our Q-Zone Hoop Pro. Our Hoop Pro and our Hoop Standard are two of the same. The process is the same. This Hoop Pro comes with a couple accessories that the Standard doesn't have.
Yeah, it comes with this table insert that's on the Pro. You'll notice it has the 2 tracks here in the back and the front that the carriage rides on. instead of just a single track. And then it also comes with a leader clause, and that'll help you add your fabric and keep it tight.
That's right. So this is the same process as the Cutie. So hooping the fabric, we actually did the same thing. So this particular frame has ratchets as well, much like the Cutie,
The
built
square
in.
rails.
Yes. Yep, built in. So this hoop frame has these white quilt clips that acts as your ratcheting systems. So let's go ahead and take one of these off. Okay, perfect. And so these ratchets or these grooves are your ratcheting mechanisms. So again, through your square tubing, you simply put that on, and that is where you're going to be ratcheting.
As you can see, it's clearly easier to come around than the larger systems. And so if you're going to be doing a lot of pantographs or designs on the back, that gives you that option to easily come to the back. And it can be raised or lowered, so you can sit at it, and there's no metal bar in the middle if you're using a foot pedal, or you can raise it up and use it while you're standing.
That's right. Now, both the Cutie and the hoop, they're perfect, again, for your home machine, because you can sit. All right, so the hoop frame, and let's go ahead, we have a quilt here. Let's just go ahead and put this one on as well. And what we're going to do on this one, we are going to hang it over your side, Jana, just to show. Okay, so let's say we want to do a quilt this size, and we absolutely can. Okay, let's put the back one. And with this one, we can only put the 2. We don't need the 3rd. Okay, so it's all nice and taut. With the bungee you can get as an accessory, you could put that simply on the one side and now have the bungee so it's nice and taut. So now we have our fabric on the hoop frame. And when we're done quilting this area, you simply just take these clips off, just like you did when you put them on. You take them off, you hoop your fabric, and you keep doing that over and over again until you're done quilting. And these as well have the bungees that like the Cutie does.
Has those straps on the front, on the back. It doesn't have it on the front though, because the carriage for this one has the handles up above. It doesn't do it on the bottom like on the Cutie frame.
That's right. Okay, so Jana, wonderful 2 options if you're considering space saving, you want to do large quilts, but you don't want to sacrifice a lot in your room. Your room is already full of stuff.
Quilts.
Well,
you got it full quilts.
That's right. These will be perfect. Now we have the frame behind us, the Q-Zone Queen. The Q-Zone Queen is a queen frame that you can only do queen size quilts. Now the Q-Zone Queen has a couple different features than the frames we talked about earlier. One main one is the rails. The rails roll your fabric, and so as we advance the fabric, you're rolling it on the rails, which a lot of people love. A lot of people love that aspect of rolling the fabric, right?
Right. They also, because you're rolling it on the fabric, that makes a difference on which machine you can use, because now it's going to affect the throat space because it's rolling up on the rail.
That's big. So again, the questions that you're asking yourself is, if I need a queen and I'm only doing a queen frame or queen quilt and smaller, but I want to use my own machine, because this back rail builds the fabric, you may consider doing a larger frame because you lose that throw space. We do have a compatibility list that talks about what machines are compatible with either our speed control or our regulator, so check that out. But with this frame, because you can do a queen size quilt or smaller, that may be ideal for you. You could also add the 19. So what's nice is, let's go and take these clips off here. And these clips, is easy to remove. Now, I'm going to just pull one side out here, and you can see this can adjust. So with this adjusting, you now can go from a domestic machine to a larger throat machine, keeping the same frame. So with the clips here that I simply put on, that keeps the fabric nice and taut, easy. So we have the Q-Zone Queen with the ratchet systems. And so as we turn the fabric, it will ratchet as you get here, there. So that will keep the fabric nice and taut So we have a ratchet systems. If you have room for an 8-foot frame and you want to have a rolling rail, this will be the frame for you.
This is the one to pick.
That's the one to pick. Last but not least, our Continuum frame is our most sought out frame. It is what we call our professional frame, but you don't need to be a professional to use this frame.
No, it's true, because usually it's the people who are doing hobby stuff that want to go big at the beginning, and so they just want to try out that professional stuff and realize you don't need to be professional to use it.
No, you don't have to be. So the Continuum frame, this is a 8-foot frame, a 10-foot frame, or a 12-foot frame, and you can get a 2-foot extension, Jenna. So if you buy an 8-foot frame now, you can get a 2-foot extension and make it a 10. Same thing with a 10. You can buy a 10-foot frame and make it a 12-foot frame. So you have 3 options in the Continuum line for your best needs. And again, what space you're looking to put this in and what machine. You know, ask yourself those questions before you look at buying what size of frame. The Continuum frame, as you can see, it has 3 rails with options to buy an idler bar and a batting bar. And those are really, really huge.
The batting bar comes at the bottom and holds the batting. You can see it kind of hanging down there a little bit. And then the idler rail, where does that go, Mark? It goes up here on the top?
Yeah, it does. It goes right through the throat of the machine. So if you have a larger Unique machines, you can put the idler bar in there, which makes it really, really nice. Because this bottom rail, when it gets bigger, you want to make sure it doesn't rub on the throat of your machine. So you do have accessories for the Continuum frame. The Continuum frame also has the nice side bungees right over by you, where you can get the bungees and come right over. It has the ratchet systems. So the Continuum frame has a nice ratchet system on the right side. You have bungees on both sides. You have options for an idler bar, a batting bar, and other accessories for your machine. It's a very easy frame to put together. Again, an 8-foot, 10-foot, or 12-foot frame. So you do have some questions to consider when you're buying these types of frames, especially the size and the cost.
And another thing that you just mentioned, Mark, was about that rail getting the quilt on the side. So that's something to consider on which machine you're going to use on the frame. You can use the Unique 15, 19, and 21. Your domestic machine can fit on there, but again, you have to take into account how much of that quilt's going to be on that rail and causing that throat space to disappear for what you're quilting.
That's right. And also with the foot pedal, if you're using your domestic machine, there is a middle leg here that you're going to have to move your foot pedal the length of the frame to use. So again, check out our compatibility list on our website to see if you're compatible with a speed control or a regulator. Then you can use that without any worries. But the Continuum frame, there's so many nice features on the Continuum frame, from easy adjusting of this back rail, pulling this front rail out to adjust for smaller machines or larger machines, height adjustability, easy to assemble. You know, the list goes on with the Continuum frame.
Yeah, and whenever you're choosing which frame and machine works best for you, like we've said in the past, your dreams can become a reality of quilting for other people and sharing that quilt and those quilts that you're making with your friends and family. So you want to make that ability, no matter what you're picking, making it easier for you to make that happen.
That's right. So Jana, thank you so much. It was so fun to talk about these frames, the differences between each one. And I know we have a lot of information on these frames on our YouTube page as well. So subscribe to our YouTube page to get more information. Also, follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And again, there's a lot of you out there who like, oh, I know someone who can benefit from this, or you're thinking about other people in your family or your relatives that may need certain frames for their situation. So again, like it with them, like our page, share it with them so that they now have this knowledge of what frame is best. But again, thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Hello everyone, my name's Jackson from House of Jackson here in Australia, and I'm a proud Grace Ambassador. And today I thought I'd take the time to share 2 of my quilts where I've tried something a little bit different and share a bit of the story behind them. So first of all, I have this quilt on the wall behind me. Now this was the first time I tried needle turn applique and bias applique. So I used a product that fuses to the back where you trim away your excess and then fold it over. I quite enjoyed the process. However, instead of hand stitching it, I did actually do it all by machine, which was a lot faster than if I had it done by hand. Then the other change I did was, instead of doing these little hexagons for the diamond panels, I actually cut little diamonds, stitched them together, added a border, then I appliqued those on. Then over here where we see the fans, one thing that I decided to do to mix it up, instead of appliquing them on, I did it as a drunkard's path or a curved seam and actually pressed underneath. So instead of pressing away or open, I actually pressed under to give it a slightly raised look, as if I had actually done it by needle turn. Then when it comes to the quilting, it was another new experience for me, because up until this quilt, I had only quilted normal patchwork and I hadn't actually quilted anything with any applique as such. So because these appliques were quite a feature of this quilt pattern, I did some different background fills. So in this block, I did some pebbles and did some different variations of pebbles to add a nice texture, yet bring the quilting to life. By doing this, it allowed the applique to pop where it wasn't quilted. Then over here, again, I did another background fill, and then I repeated that for the other two applique feature blocks. Then in the center, I decided to do some fussy cutting and add a border. Then I did some ruler work quilting on it, which was quite fun. The other little thing that was quite fun for me is, instead of appliquing just a circle, I again fussy cut these meteors and I appliqued those down. This actually gave a focus area for the fans and makes them pop a little bit more. And as you can see, I have actually got the fans in sets, which are quite different. One of the other things that I quite enjoyed about this quilt that was again a little bit different was the quilting on the outer border. So instead of doing something all over the border, I actually stitched along every one of these stripes in the whole pattern, which was quite fun, but a little bit different. And it pushed me to try something that I wasn't normally comfortable doing. And it was great practice, and honestly, a ruler came in quite handy for that. The other thing I did quite differently for the whole quilt was, when I did do the binding, I did it so it was a little thicker than I normally do my bindings, just to add that extra element to the quilt. And for the backing, I chose a vibrant purple spot that was quite dark as well, so it really adds another element to the quilt when you turn it over. Then for the petals, I have done some, not petals, the leaves, sorry. I have actually done some leaf stem sort of style quilting to add that element of nature to the quilt. So the quilt pattern was by Kathy Dowdy, and it was in one of her books that I did purchase. Next up, I have a quilt where I tried something a little different. So I've done a few quilts in the past where I've used improv patchwork. However, most of the blocks are all improv, and then I have some borders or sashings, but this time I decided to mix it up a little. So I'm yet to bind the quilt. However, I have recently finished quilting it. Now, one thing that I've done is I have used an improv. It's going to be a bit hard to hold up. So if you hold it there, it's out of focus. Cool, cool, cool. And up high. So what I've done is I have made an improv block in the middle, and then I have added different borders around the center to continue that improv look. I quite enjoyed doing this because it was fun creating the improv, but it was very quick and easy to add the other borders when I was using some graph paper that helped me work out my seam allowance. Then when it came to the quilting, instead of doing all whole cloth freehand, I used my automation and I actually designed this on pen and paper in Repeat. Then I digitized it using the software to create the quilting design. I then stitched it out at 14.5 inches, so it has a nice density that adds an element of texture to the quilt and makes it look like it's been free motion quilted. Then on the back of the quilt, I have used this vibrant floral style fabric to really add another element on the back to make it a bit different. When it comes to the binding, I'm still not sure what I'm going to do. I think I might use some of my scrap fabrics, join them together on the 45 and do the binding that way. However, I'm yet to bind the quilt, and when I finish it, I'll be sure to post some photos. So I hope you've been inspired by watching this little clip on things that I've tried and done differently. And don't forget to stay safe, stay inspired, and stay quilting. And also stay around for the other amazing ambassadors videos to inspire your creativity. Take care, everyone.
There you go.
There
now
we
you
go.
Able to hear us. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being able to stick with us through this wonderful day that we've had. And I know kind of this is the last segment, so we have just a couple things that we're going to go over. One of them is actually going to be the final winner of those that have pre-registered for today. But what we want to do is we actually want to take some time to talk with you, Roswitha, if that's okay, just because you are actually the dealer or the distributor that we have for Australia. So we really want the people watching to be able to get to know you a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I know with that is one thing is we wanted to see maybe, because I know you're just joining us, so you weren't with us in the beginning, maybe Roswitha, can you remind us where you guys are based out of?
We are based in Mittagong in the Southern Highlands of New South Wales. We are an hour out of Sydney. Little bit chilly this morning here, yes, but we are getting into the winter, and yeah, our warehouse is in Mittagong, where we get our shipments, where we post everything, where we ship everything. We do have a showroom as well. People can come in and try out. We have a couple of long arms, like the 19, 21, 21 Pro, 15 Pro, all the frames on display. So yes, if people cannot go to shows, they can come to Mittagong and try out these great machines.
That's wonderful. Now you mentioned shows. Now you've got a bunch of shows coming up, right?
Wow.
So
And
where are you guys going to be?
well, the first one will be in 2 weeks, and it will be in Toowoomba, the Craft Alive, where the Grace Company is the sponsor, and there are people coming to join us in Toowoomba. So just looking forward to that. And if you are in the area or want to make a trip, just go there. It will be amazing.
Wonderful.
Nathan will be there, Karla will be there, Janessa, and
Blanket.
who?
Yeah.
Janessa was doing the picnic basket blanket
Yes,
for
yes,
those
yes,
who are watching. Yeah.
yes. So
Yeah.
and plus we will have Jackson and Lizzy on the stand as well.
Oh, great.
So
Yeah.
it will be amazing. So Craft Alive Toowoomba is the from the 19th to the 22nd of May. Then the week after, the Grace Company will be at the AQC in Brisbane, and where Lauren, you will join us.
Yes, I'm
Yes.
excited.
Yeah. So that will be great. Lizzy Jackson will be there as well. So that's and then AQC is from the 26th to the 29th of May, and then we have Craft Alive Canberra the following week from the 1st of June to the 4th of June, where Lauren will be with us as well. So yes, it will be amazing 4 weeks or 3 weeks, so
Yeah.
three shows. Yeah, can't wait.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be really fun. I'm really excited. I've never been to Australia, and then I'm really excited to be able to meet you guys and to go
Yes.
to the shows, because I know that that's what everyone wants, right? We're ready to get back into it, ready to go to shows. And then I know, Roswitha, you had mentioned that those that maybe not be able to go to a show, they still have that storefront. And so I just was curious to maybe hear some of the services that you offer if someone were to purchase, with you guys.
Yes, we have. Sorry, can you repeat that question? My phone
Yeah, of
rang and
course.
I got distracted.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no worries. No worries at all. So the question is just kind of what are some of the services that you offer if someone were to purchase a frame or a machine or potentially both?
We offer full sales, like machine, frame, everything. Plus, we also proud ourselves to go and install it for the customers. So we don't just ship
Wonderful.
out boxes. We, if Hans cannot do it, or if it's in a different state, we have Lizzy, Jackson, Shanna. They're all helping out, and we have also dealers in Geelong and in Queensland. So yes, the support is there. We just not only selling, there is sales support as well and service. Hans being a technician, sewing machine technician, he services the machines afterwards. He services also domestic machines. So that's kind of the full package, not only sales. So we have service like repairs and everything.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
What a great resource for everybody there.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we
Wonderful.
have
I know.
Australia-wide, we have a network as well supporting us, and Western Australia, Queensland, Victoria. So, yeah.
Wonderful.
And
I know
Muscat is
that's
traveling.
yeah, good. I know,
Excuse me.
especially, with getting something new, sometimes, the setting up part can be kind of trickier, maybe a little intimidating for people. So that is wonderful to hear that you guys offer that service to people. So that's incredible. And kind of, I think, something that's pretty unique there. So that's really fun to hear. And so we're kind of again wrapping up this day. So before we run out of time, we want to go ahead and we're going to announce the final winner of those that we've chosen from those that have pre-registered. So really quickly before we kind of talk about what that person is going to get and all that is just a reminder that if you have not registered, it is free. And that if you haven't, absolutely, I encourage you to do it because we've chosen the winners for today. However, we are still going to choose the winner, or we're not going to choose the winners, I should say, until tomorrow for the event. So we are giving you, quite a bit of time that if you haven't registered, you absolutely can. And again, I'd encourage you to because who doesn't want something free, right?
Well, and if you don't win, right, and you've seen something that you just love and can't live without, don't forget, go to the link on the website. It takes you directly to Know How Sewing's website. You can see all the fabulous deals there. And Roswith, you guys have some amazing deals happening right now, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's correct. Like, go to our website. All the Truecut products are 20% off, and we have the combos as well, which they are discounted, heavily discounted. We have the machines, discounted frames, packages, like different frames with different machines. Yeah. So check out the website. Reach out to us if you don't find what you need. Reach out to us. We are here to help. Send us an email, mail@knowhowsewing.com.au if you're looking for something specific. And yes, just check it out.
They are your resource to get it happening. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Again, we're going to go ahead and talk about what it is, this final product or this final thing that we're giving away for those, again, that have pre-registered. So this is a really exciting one. This is, I would say, a bigger ticket item. So let me go ahead and pull up a picture here of it. So it is the Ultimate Cutting Collection.
Ooh, this one's amazing.
Yes.
This is everything you need to get started, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then some.
Exactly. I know, Roswitha, have you had, I know you said earlier you've used Truecut a little bit. Have you had the chance to use, some of these items that come in this Ultimate Cutting Collection?
Yeah, definitely. I use the a comfort cutter, the mat. We use that all the time here when we demonstrate, and things, circle cutter, and the rulers are fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful.
And I did mask like when we last year and the year before, I everything cut the mask with the things I all cut out with the Truecut rulers and cutters. So yeah, it's a fabulous product.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's wonderful to hear. That's great. And that just shows, too, that it's so versatile, right? It's just a cutting tool, right? You can use it for anything. So that's great to hear. So I'm going to show you one more time kind of what's included here. So you get that 45mm comfort cutter, a 5-pack of blades, the 24 by 36 cutting mat, a non-slip pad.
That is the same size, a 24 by 36.
Perfect. And then you also get that 360 circle cutter. You get the 3 different triangle rulers we have. So that's the equilateral, 60 degree, and 90 degree. Oh, and then the kite one, which, you know.
Has all 3 on there, yeah.
Yes, wonderful. You get the 3x18 ruler, the 6.5 by 24.5 ruler, the 6.5 by 12.5 inch ruler, as well as the 6.5 by 6.5, 9.5 by 9.5, and then the 12.5 by 12.5.
And then enough True Grips to take you through the whole thing.
Yes, wonderful. Yeah, 5 different packs of True Grips. And then if you were watching earlier, is that you actually get 15 in each of those packs of 2 different sizes. So that's quite a bit, like Janessa said, you know, plenty to be able to use on all those rulers. And if you have some other rulers, you know, you can potentially use it on those as well. So let's go ahead and really quickly do a drum roll for the winner of this Ultimate Cutting Collection. Woo!
So excited!
Here we go.
Oh, Jessie Firth, congratulations. That is an amazing deal. We have your email, so you don't need to reach out to us. So we will contact you and let you know the best way we can get that sent out to you.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Jan, for being here with me. And then thank you, Raswita, as well, for being able to be with us today. Yep. And then we're really excited. We actually are going to be live again with you guys tomorrow, and we're going to have some more educational pieces. Just to kind of give you a snapshot, is we're going to do a welcome. We're going to do, again, choose a couple different winners from those that have pre-registered. We're going to do the part 2 of, It's So Easy part 2, which is the one Karla had done, that pattern here. We're going to do tips for your machine. That's a great one. And then we'll talk about a little bit of a new product, which is called our Wonderfoot.
Oh, that's a great one, yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be a fun one. Make sure to stay tuned. But thank you again, everyone, for joining us, and we hope to see you tomorrow.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, bye.
Thank you.